Raging Hard is the best book to read to understand OJ's relationships with the mob guys. He only went to college for 2 years, just 2 years at JUCO, 2 years at USC. And he's already meeting these shady LA mob guys right away. This OJ thing is the craziest stuff you've ever heard in your life. But that's what the LAPD did. They planted the glove behind the house. It's a classic mob setup.
My guest today is Chris Todd. Chris is a private investigator who wrote a book about the accomplice involved in the OJ Simpson murder case. He has a confession from the killer who describes exactly how he and OJ carried out the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman back in 1994. You're not going to believe the scoop this guy has. It involves the mafia, cocaine trafficking, and corruption at the highest levels of the LAPD and the prosecutor's office. Chris lays out his entire theory about what actually happened that night based on eyewitness testimony and, of course, the confession by this alleged accomplice. Watch till the end of the episode and then let us know in the comments what you believe. And we have a bonus episode with Chris where he talks about other high-profile cases that he's worked on, including Kurt Cobain, JonBenet Ramsey, and Biggie Smalls. And that is over there on Patreon. Patreon.com/The Connect Show. You already know. Without further ado, one of the wildest episodes. My mind is blown. Chris Todd right here on The Connect with Johnny Mitchell.
He drives to Nicole's grave with AC in the white Bronco, which is AC's Bronco. Not the murder vehicle. That's in evidence. He owned the identical car.
Fascinating. The Bronco that they took the cops on the chase on is not the Bronco with all the blood in it from OJ's house. That's when I see the lights behind me start to flash. And I didn't even think, I just hit it. I was driving like my life depended on it. And then I parked the car, hopped out, closed the door, and I started running.
And he pulls out a burner, a shank, it's like 6 inches. And then he passes it to me. And he goes, here, that's yours. Don't ever leave the cell block without this. He was the reason I made it out of that place alive.
We have a younger audience. Much of the audience was born around the time of the OJ case.
Sure.
So they don't understand how important, how huge it was in terms of American pop culture. Besides the JFK murder, the OJ Simpson trial, the OJ Simpson case is the biggest unsolved murder case in American history. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's the biggest true crime story of our era. And it's probably the most mysterious civilian murder case ever.
Now, because this is going to get a lot of controversy, it's going to get a lot of heat, do you acknowledge that OJ was at the scene of the crime, involved in the murder, the way that the prosecution and the mainstream narrative says he was?
Yes, OJ did it.
OJ did do it.
With Charlie.
Got it. So what we're here to discuss is the third person that was there, or the other person. I'm sorry, Charlie. The other person that was involved in the murder that you don't hear about. You've never heard about. Because there's a media
blackout.
Right. Okay, good. So this is the conspiracy. This is, I just want to put that out there. You're not crazy. OJ did in fact do it, but with help.
Correct.
Got it. So this is akin to like the second gunman on the grassy knoll. Right there in Dallas, killing Kennedy.
It'd be like the guy at the grassy knoll goes, I was with Lee Harvey Oswald on November 22nd, 1963. And then you say to him, did you pull the trigger? And he goes, don't ask me that. But he's telling you, wink, wink, I was there.
Right.
Don't ask me what I did. I've already told you. That's what Charlie does too.
Okay.
I was with OJ. Don't ask me if I murdered anybody.
Okay. So why don't you run through your background really quick?
My name is Chris Todd. I'm an investigative producer, journalist, and author here in LA. I work famous and civilian murder cases, cold cases, disappearances. I act sometimes as a police informant on civilian cases all across the country with DAs, lawyers, family members. I wrote 4 books. I work with Court TV and News Nation from time to time. I also work with other media publications. I either source or leak materials to them. A lot of times I don't go on the record. So if you look at a lot of stories I've done, you won't see my name written there, and that's for a reason. I do want to come out fully someday, officially, but the media won't let me. They will not let me talk about OJ's murder accomplice. I've gone to everybody. There's a complete media blackout. I've I'm honored to be here for you to let me exercise my First Amendment, because all the mainstream media has not let me do that at all for 5 years.
Why do you think that is?
You'd have to ask them.
Okay. So, and have you had success with your investigations in and handing that information over to police and prosecutors?
Yes.
Have you actually helped break cases and, and get murder cases solved?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I put one guy away for 13 years that I won't say his name because he's going to get out soon.
Is he a known person?
No.
Okay. So you work not famous cases as well.
He's mafia.
Okay.
This is from years ago. So I've been doing this about 10 years. What I say to people too is, if I say I solved the murder, right? Just because the police don't arrest those people doesn't mean I didn't solve the murder. So I either write the book, leak the story, or tell the families, I give reports to them. This is who I believe killed your daughter. You can accept that or not. I have a case in North Carolina right now where I'm dealing with the attorneys on a federal lawsuit. I will hand them my report. I've already told the DA at that, I'm not a cop. I can't arrest the killer. If they don't want to arrest him, I blast him in the public with his face on the cover of my book.
Okay.
Like I did on Delphi.
Right. Right. Okay. And when did you start working on the OJ case?
7 years ago.
Why did it take you so long?
Because I had no interest in it at all till a producer came to me and goes, I got this guy who is coming forward that he was with OJ.
And that's Charlie. Okay.
I didn't know his name though for a year. I didn't know who it was. They gave me a screenplay to read it in person. They said there's a tape. I heard parts of the tape and that's it. They wouldn't even tell me his last, I didn't know his last name. I thought Charlie was like a front name, like a black name. I had no idea until a year and a half later when I read OJ's chapter 6. And they told me this too, of read chapter 6 of OJ's book, If I Did It. Watch the Judith Regan interview. Watch OJ tell you he had an accomplice. Now that interview was shelved for 12 years. It didn't air till 2018. So nobody saw it.
Right.
Right.
And in that book, and the book wasn't even, I don't even think made it to the market. They pulled it, right?
Shredded for years.
Tell us what If I Did It is.
So If I Did It is the book that OJ wrote in 2006. And what a coincidence, the year Joey Ippolito dies of terminal brain cancer is 2006. So once Joey's gone, OJ and Charlie, without saying Charlie's last name, they write a book called If I Did It. And in chapter 6, the night in question, they tell you there's an accomplice named Charlie.
And who was Joey Ippolito?
Joey Ippolito is from the De Cavalcante crime family, the New Jersey mob. He was a coke smuggler.
And Charlie was working for him.
Yes, and Charlie ran his own crew of coke smugglers in Miami.
Got it. So OJ puts this book out. Basically, do you have any speculation why he would do such an insane thing? Money and wanted to get back in the limelight. He waited 12 years. Yeah. He's an insane person. What would you diagnose him with? Did he have CTE plus rage and psychopathy? What was it? They say like, people just say he's a narcissist, right? So a narcissist can never admit they did something wrong. Everything's about them. If it doesn't affect them, they're not interested. So he is a narcissist. He had people sign NDAs on his deathbed. I'll say this right now. It's possible he told his oldest children, Arnell and Jason, that he killed them. He killed Ron and Nicole. Right. I don't think he's outed Ehrlich or Charlie, but he may have told his oldest children, and that's why they signed an NDA and said if they say a word, they lose their inheritance at all. That's why Malcolm Laverne is the trustee of the estate. So If I Did It essentially walks us through what really happened. It's essentially a confession. But he hides saying, the coke angle. If I did it, hypothetically, this is how I would do it, but I didn't do it. But, I've had so much time to think about it. It's but again, he beat the case. So it didn't really matter. You can't touch him anyway. Can't recharge him. No. Yeah. So in the beginning of the book, he says, I had nothing to do with Nicole's murder, but if I did, this is how it happened. Which is so American. Like it's such a parody, our culture. Like I think about the middle finger to her and her family and Ron Goldman, who nobody talks about. Poor Ronnie was just thrilled to be getting some from, this hot older lady of like an NFL legend. Right. So it's essentially, that's your basis for this work. is that book if I did it?
Well, the way the producers told me in the beginning was let OJ tell you the story first. So when they did that, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't know the book existed. I had no idea who Charlie Ehrlich was at all. Did you know his name? No one knows this guy's name. Even in the mob circles, nobody knows him. They used to call him Charlie Tuna, but there's 2 Charlie Tunas, so you got to be careful. There's a judge named Charles Ehrlich, so you got to be careful like who you're saying. But the point is, when the producers are like, read chapter 6, watch the Judith Regan interview. It wasn't even out yet. So I'm like, how do you guys know it's coming out? And the wheels started going in my head like, oh, they know it's coming. Oh, they know it's happening. That's why Ehrlich's coming forward, because now we're going to see on Fox when he goes, this guy showed up, a guy I'd recently become friends with, and he wasn't smiling. I said, hey, Charlie, what's the matter? And he tells you the story through the book. Who's Charlie? Who's pulling up to your house right now?
So Charlie was interviewed by Fox News?
Well, just recently, Charlie was interviewed by CNN just now, but they didn't even know what they're doing.
Why was that not a bigger story?
They called the cops on me at CNN because I told them Charlie's the OJ's murder accomplice.
Okay, let's not make this about you.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
No offense, but my point is you've been working on this. You've done this. This is what you do.
That launched me into the investigation. I was new to the game a little bit. So think of it like I'm in the minor leagues. I'm in the A division of baseball. I don't barely know what I'm doing. Then as the years go by, over the 7 years, I'm honing the craft. I have civilian cases. I'm getting death threats. I'm getting crazy sheriffs, cops, things that you make your head spin.
Okay.
So now I'm learning. My point is I'm learning. Now I'm meeting all the OJ players. I'm meeting all the people from the case. And now they're corroborating. I'm like, oh, this is real. So it was a learning curve,
Before we get into it,
sure,
what really happened, if he did it, let's walk us through the official report of that night.
Sure. So June 12th, 1994, Nicole and Ron are found at about midnight. Okay. So it's almost like the 13th. It's basically they're found on the 13th. They list they're both stabbed to death multiple times. Ron way more than Nicole. So that's important too for part of the case. And it becomes a media sensation. The country is engrossed in it. OJ's kind of like, he was a goody-goody in a way to people. He was a hero. The Wheaties box, I always talk about this. Bruce Jenner, he was an icon to the Generation X, right? We'll call it the Gen Xers. And the baby boomers, really, they grew up with OJ too at USC. The famous run, he won the Heisman. He set the record for most yards still to this day in a 14-game season. No one's ever beat that, 2,000 yards. So he was a god in a way to 2 different generations.
Yeah, and he had crossed over like racial lines too. Like he has a famous quote, "I'm not black, I'm OJ."
Right.
So he was in movies. He was like a mainstream American icon, hero, beloved by everybody.
And one of the first black spokespeople for a major company, Hertz.
Right.
And you have to remember in the 70s, interracial marriages were not, they're in California, but I'm saying in the East Coast down south in the 70s and early 80s, that's not, a lot of people aren't cool with that. So
when did they marry? When did he and Nicole marry?
I mean, he has an affair with her for like 2 years. He's married when he meets her.
Right.
They marry in, I want to say 85. It's like 7 years later.
Okay.
They get married.
All right. And then they divorced or separated very quickly after that.
No, it's like the divorce begins in 91 because she meets Keith Slomsewicz in early 1992. So they're divorced officially in October of 92. It takes a year to get divorced.
Okay. So they have 2 young children together.
Correct.
And OJ has 2 kids, older children from his previous marriage.
Arnell and Jason. He had another child that died in this pool. Aaron drowned. He had a 3rd child.
Well, if OJ did it, did he really drown?
She.
Oh,
her name was Erin.
Okay.
Yeah. But and she died in the pool at Rockingham.
Okay.
And they destroyed the pool and redid the pool. This is just a kind of a creepy story about it. And one of his dogs died in that pool too.
Okay. Who was the son? They speculate
Jason Simpson.
Jason Simpson is in popular culture because OJ just died.
Because Bill Deere keeps saying his name.
So people are saying that Jason Simpson had something to do with this murder as well.
Because of Bill Deere.
Now, did he, in your estimation?
No, absolutely not.
He had nothing to do with it. Was Nicole Simpson, the night she was murdered, supposed to have dinner with Jason Simpson?
Supposedly Jason wanted to make dinner for them. And so that's what Bill Deere drives this, like this whole charade.
Who is Bill Deere?
He's the investigator that created the Jason did it theory.
I see.
On Discovery ID called OJ is Innocent.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because that's how we were talking about that. That was when you look it up on the internet, the only conspiracy you can find about a second person, an accomplice to OJ, is his son.
Or Glenn Rogers, which is from Norman Pardo. So you have two major conspiracy theories.
Okay. And Glenn Rogers
was
is
a
who?
serial killer.
Okay. And they allege that he had something to do with it?
Norman Pardo says he thinks that Glenn Rogers murdered Ron and Nicole. And sometimes he says OJ's there, then sometimes OJ's not there, and he hired OJ. These guys, they have a mental illness.
Okay, so there's nothing, but there's nothing that substantiates.
Absolutely not. They lie about the evidence. I've caught both of them lying. I've had multiple conversations with them. They run every time.
Okay, so great. So those are out of the way, just for anybody that needed to know.
Because people write me all the time and say, "Did you look at Glenn Rogers? Did you look at Jason Simpson?" I try to be nice to these people. It's okay. This is 30 years of information, so I get it. But I've been saying this for 7 years. So
okay. So these murders take place. OJ has a flight that night out. Looks real suspicious. Tell us about that.
So OJ does get on the plane at about 11:45. His plane takes off.
He's going to Chicago.
Yes, for a golf tournament for Hertz. He does get on the plane. He makes it back there.
Do you know when he booked that ticket?
I don't know exactly. Probably a week or so ago. You're trying to say like if it's premeditated?
That's important, right?
To me, if you look at my story or my interviews, there's no premeditation to this murder.
Okay, fascinating. That's huge. Most people think that this was at least premeditated by a few days. You know, there's a ton of calls that the prosecution played for the jury that was just lost on them. It was Nicole saying, "He's going to kill me. He's going to kill me." You're saying this was completely spur of the moment. It was a rage killing.
Well, it's set by Joey Ippolito and Charlie that set an extortion.
We'll get there.
Okay, sorry.
But this was not a premeditated.
That's what triggers it. He's triggered.
Right. Okay. So this was not premeditated whatsoever.
No, there's no evidence of that.
Hey guys, today's episode is sponsored by our longtime partner, Mood. If you're a fan of the show, you know Mood by now. They are my favorite online dispensary. But wait, they've made some changes. Mood has long been associated with Delta 8, as you know, but now they have an offering of many more types of products, including Delta 9 and THCA. Bet you didn't even know what that was. But don't worry, they're still federally legal. Their online dispensary offers a wide variety of flower, pre-rolls, edibles, gummies, vapes, and concentrates. All products shipped discreetly right to your door. I personally love the 25 milligram HHC soft gel capsules. I'm not a big smoker anymore as I get older, so I love these capsules and edibles and easier ways to consume. I'm working all of the time. I'm doing interviews, new stand-up material, I'm taking meetings, new ideas for the channel. The HHC capsules really come in handy for me when I need to focus and get creative. Head over to hellomood.co to learn more about what makes them such a great company. And while you're there, repeat after me, use my code CONNECT20, CONNECT20, to receive 20% off your first order, plus a free 5-count pack of gummies, as always. That's right, say it with me one more time. Use code CONNECT20 at checkout at hellomood.co for 20% off your first order, plus a free 5-count pack of gummies. Thank you so much to Mood. As always, support them because they support us. All right, let's get back into the show. Okay, so when does... And everybody knows, the outcome of the case, obviously. It was, he was found not guilty after, basically a 2-year trial. Did the prosecution, before we start poking holes in the official narrative, did the prosecution have evidence of an accomplice?
Yes. And
did they refuse to admit it in court?
Correct. They undiscover it. So just like the defense, because I know some of the investigators from OJ's team personally, I also have the discovery file from the case that no one's ever seen. I'm the only civilian who has it. Not to make this about me, but I'm the only person that has it. So the prosecution and defense both knew there were bloody shoe prints at the crime scene, 10.5 parallel line print. Not OJ, he's a 12 and he's a Z shape.
Okay.
So there's multiple pieces. There's blood evidence, there's fingerprints, there's shoes, and there's a hat in the Bronco. There's what I'm trying to get at is when you're a prosecutor or a defense team, you have the right to undiscover something. So say you see their shoe prints, you undiscover it. You don't tell them they're there.
And that's legal.
Yes.
So there's fingerprints, and
they have what's called the Brady law, right? Where if there's exculpatory evidence, you're supposed to, both sides have to see it.
Right.
But if you're an investigator for LAPD, right, and you see there's other shoe prints, but in your head, you only want OJ. That's one of the cops. When they showed up, there's cops, trampling the crime scene. That's one of the cops' shoe prints. Let's not submit that in evidence.
So it wasn't the prosecution, it was the actual investigators, the cops that didn't give the evidence.
Both. They worked together. The prosecutor, the district attorney, Gil Garcetti, Marcia Clark, David Kahn, Hodgman, Kelb, they all looking at the same evidence. Right. Remember that.
Okay.
They have to.
Okay.
And the defense is seeing the same thing. That's what a discovery file, that's why I have these boxes that go up to like here. That's inside. I don't have every page of it. That'd be a tractor trailer truck. But what I'm saying is you see what they're showing each other, right? So I have to show you when Kato Kalin or Ellen Park gives a statement, I need to hand it to you. And you need to hand me when you interview them. And it goes back and forth. They all have the same files.
Is that public record? How did you get your hands on that?
I can't say.
Okay. Can you talk around it? You're
Let's
trying to get
say,
people to believe you.
Yeah, I understand.
I
understand.
How did you get your hands on that?
I got it about 4 months ago, and it took me 3 years to get it. And a guy was brave enough before he dies that he basically gave it to me.
Okay.
He was close to OJ.
Wow. Okay. So did they run the fingerprints? And was there a match on them?
We don't know. So there's supposedly 15 fingerprints at the crime scene that do not match OJ, Ron, or Nicole. I don't know what the result is because in the discovery file, I don't have the actual fingerprint stuff there. Okay. So I don't know. I have the root hairs in the hat, item 27.
But everybody knows about the root hairs in the hat.
Not until I told them.
Well, that's why people suspect, and correct me if I'm wrong, people suspect Jason Simpson.
I'm talking about the hat and the Bronco, not the beanie cap.
Okay, so let's talk about this.
Yeah, sure.
We got to paint it like
I understand.
These people are 10-year-olds.
Sure.
There was 2 hats found at the scene.
There's one hat found at the crime scene.
One at the crime scene, and that had a black African-American man's hair.
Correct.
Was that matched to OJ?
Yes.
That was matched to OJ?
Yes. But OJ will tell you no. See, they'll say it didn't match. Because remember, DNA's in the infancy. So there's a lot of speculation. And they had a fight over how many hairs were they going to get. So there was like a hearing, 2 hairs, 30, 60, 100, 5 hairs. They play it out in the FX docuseries. I don't know if you ever watched it. OJ on FX.
Yeah.
They play that out, this hair thing, and it shows how Marcia Clark's kind of like, what are they doing? And what they're saying is, what the writers are trying to show you is they're going to fight you on every single thing you say. Every single thing you ask for, they're not going to give you.
Okay, so that hair was matched to OJ.
Yes.
Okay, so.
And Mark Furman calls it a ski mask. Now I have that in the discovery file, which is a fascinating piece of evidence. Some of it's online. You can find, but I have the actual forms, the photocopies in 1994 from Mark Furman's notes. So it's like a relic, right? So you're holding it. He says there's a ski mask.
What do you think it was a ski mask?
It's not, it's the hat. He can't touch it.
So is it like a beanie cap?
Yeah, like a burglar cap.
Okay, I see.
He looks at it, he thinks it's a ski mask.
So, but this is not a premeditated thing. This is not a premeditated murder. Why would he go dressed like it was?
Because he kept the hat in his car for golfing when it was cold.
Right. So this is midnight. It does get cold.
And his driving gloves, the isotoners are in the car.
I don't know. That's so sketchy to me. It seems like it's a premeditated murder. It's like, I know it gets cold in Los Angeles at night, but does
he golfs at like 6 a.m.
Right.
Remember, it's June. So was he golfing in January? He golfed all the time. Yeah. So why wouldn't he have possibly a hat in it? Now it's a scary looking cap. I know what you're saying. Why would you wear a burglar cap on the golf course at the Riviera? You're wearing a burglar cap? Why not wear something else? So I don't look, I'm going to tell you this right now, friend to friend, you're going to see a lot of things in this case that are not going to make sense.
Right. Now, the second hat in the Bronco.
That's a Paperboy Newsy Mafia cap.
Okay. And were they able to get any DNA out of that?
I don't know what they ran. Now they find 2 root hairs in there that Susan Brockbank tells Marcia Clark only one time in the trial. They never talk about this hat. And I even talked to one of OJ's lawyers recently. He's like 80 years old. He's fascinated by what I'm doing. He goes, why didn't we ever use that hat as evidence? I go, I don't know, sir. You're the lawyer. He's like, I can't even believe what's going on.
Okay. So you have 2 hats. You've got shoe prints, blood shoe prints.
2 gloves.
Don't
1
match
glove.
OJ. Gloves that don't fit OJ, even though we know the gloves. I don't know. I kind of want to put the gloves aside.
I understand.
Because
yeah. That's like its own thing.
It's drenched in blood. It shrank by the time it got to court. That's very interesting.
They would freeze the glove as evidence. So it would freeze and unfreeze, freeze and unfreeze.
Was there any other physical or DNA evidence that they collected that would have pointed to an accomplice?
Blood evidence in the Bronco and at the Bundy.
Blood that didn't match OJ?
Or Nicole or Ron.
What type of blood was that?
Well, I don't know the exact type. I'm just telling you there's blood evidence.
But how do they know it's not his blood if they don't have the blood type?
Because they type it against OJ, Ron, and Nicole, and it doesn't match any of them. How do you match it to someone if you don't know who you're looking for?
Sure. But was it the same blood type? OJ had a super rare blood type.
No.
Okay.
Now, Barry Scheck in his closing arguments says under Nicole's nails are a type B, blood and tissue in her nails. That's not OJ, Ron, or Nicole.
Right.
So who's a type B? I don't know what Ehrlich's type is. I don't. Could I pull his trash? Yes. Could I have a PI pull his trash and run his DNA? Yes. I'm not doing that right now.
Okay.
So,
okay. Wow,
Barry Scheck,
that's big. And so none of this was introduced in court. None of it was even followed up with by the cops. Wow.
The hat, it literally, when the jury's looking up like at boards, they put on these easels, these boards, the hat is staring at you in the face. No one says a word about it. It's like it's invisible. It's unbelievable.
Now, you mentioned that one of the reasons that the prosecution might not have done that, might not have introduced all of this other element, is because they didn't want to overcomplicate it for the jury.
Well, it shows doubt. So now it's, if you show these 4 shoe prints that Henry Lee circles and goes, someone else there.
Right.
Well, he's for the defense. See, in a case, it's what side of the fence you're on. It's easy to be like, oh, he works for OJ. Of course, he said there's other shoe prints there. Well, he's the #1 expert in the world. He's Dr. Henry Lee. They have an institute named after him. Bodden said there's 2 killers too. So did Dr. Irwin Golden, but you didn't want to believe him. See, so he shows I have a picture of it. There's bloody shoe prints walking out to the back gate that are a 10.5 parallel line print. It's not OJ. OJ's a 12. And Z-shape. They're opposites.
Yeah. So it wasn't like, obviously they wanted OJ, but they didn't feel, and I can understand that. The prosecution's already dealing with an incredibly biased jury. One of the guys was a Black Panther who they let, they missed that one. You know, they have now.
He throws up all
these old black ladies on that documentary are like, we didn't care what they said. That verdict was coming down not guilty.
LAPD.
Of course, and understandable. But so that's why the prosecution didn't even want to touch this, because it's even more doubt that maybe OJ really didn't do it. Maybe it was the guy he was with.
Now here's the thing, because you're a smart guy. Now let me paint it to you this way. Let me paint it to you this way. Okay. What if I'm one of the PIs or I'm an investigator and I come to you, you're the prosecutor, right? You're the plaintiff in a way, you're representing the state. And I come to you and I go, I think there's somebody else there. And you go, well, I don't want to hear it. But I go, no, there's evidence. There's someone else there. We have a problem. Are you going to ignore what I just told you as an investigator and just go for it? And that's why they lost. And that's why the greatest defense team in history, the Dream Team, annihilated these. If you really watch it, it was domination. It's hard to explain. It was total dominate. Every time Barry Scheck, Peter Neufeld, or Cochran or Shapiro or Ullman or Blazier or Douglas got up there, game over. Every witness. Fung, Mazzola. Did you read the manual on how to process a crime scene? No. Why? Like they're like, why didn't you read the manual? Oh, I just didn't. And everyone, and you could see Marcia Clark just like fidgeting in her chair. Like every time they had Dennis Fung on the stand for 9 days. He's the one who was the head criminalist that collected the evidence. 9 days.
Yeah. Yeah. It was brilliant legal theater. Like something from...
There'll never be anything like it ever again.
No.
Ever.
So the account... So before we start going back in time to talk about OJ's links to the mob, to coke running, to Charlie.
And I want to say something about that real quick.
Sure.
So now you're the prosecutor and you're all the famous people are around you about this murder, right? And then you start to find out it's mob. Now there's another problem. So when Joey Ippolito puts out a couple threats, now what do you think happens too? I wouldn't say anything if I were you. Why do you think that guy came forward just recently in the Daily Mail and said they put a gun in my mouth up on Mulholland? Yeah.
Who would he have been threatening? Who would Joey Ippolito have been threatening?
Well, this guy, I won't say the guy's name. He did an article with a PI. It's online. You can look it up. He said this 30 years ago. Then when OJ died, he came forward right away, like the same week. Oh, the mob guy put a gun in my mouth, but I won't say his name.
Who is the guy though?
I don't know who it is.
But why do we know why?
Because the
Joey's
mob was
threatening?
Involved in the murders. The mob was.
I get that, but why? What does Joey Ippolito have to do
This
with
guy
the
was
prosecution?
starting to talk.
And do we know who that guy is and
Yes.
how he's involved in the case? Is he a witness? This is what I'm...
The guy who did the article he went to jail for 20 days for contempt of court because he was in a hearing, a case with Al Collins and gambling. He started to say things about the murders and like, what? You better start saying what you know. And he wouldn't talk. So they put him in jail for 20 days.
So Al Cowlings is the guy... AC is the guy in the white Bronco with OJ's
best friend
during the chase, the infamous
OJ, yes.
Right. So please be thorough and detailed in everything that occurred and everybody that was an official witness from Kato Kalin to AC. Walk us again through the night of the murder and the official account of the murder all the way up to the time of OJ's arrest, please. And then we're going to... Up
to OJ's arrest. Okay, yeah. And so let's not talk about the witnesses yet. You're asking me to recite the Bible right now.
Yeah.
So just let's just take it. The bodies are found. Okay. The police come. Everyone shows up. They say, okay, we found 2 murder victims. It's OJ's wife. That sets off the media. There comes the media storm like nothing you've ever seen.
And her head is almost off.
Correct.
Decapitated.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Ron has very nasty wounds also, which were hard to see because his clothes were like tucked up, but he is slaughtered too.
Okay.
So the media catches it, goes crazy. They're all thinking OJ. Okay. Right away.
Right.
So they tell OJ to come back. He flies back from Chicago. Shows back up about 11:30, 12 noon. Kardashian grabs the bag, walks away with the bag. This starts OJ's luggage. Rob Kardashian grabs the bag. This is a big part of the story. And the LAPD doesn't even see him do it. So everyone's like, there's all these things are flying around. Like it's going so fast. They cuff OJ. That famous photo of him in handcuffs in his yard at Rockingham. Okay. Howard Weitzman is his attorney at the time. He's going to get the boot soon. OJ agrees to go to the police station, give his blood, and talk to the police without his attorney, which is unheard of.
Wow. And
he does like over a 40-minute interrogation. It's taped. It's on YouTube. Wow. You can hear it. It's public. Okay. So OJ does that. We always have problems. Like he's going through the whole thing. I wasn't home. I got on a plane.
Did he have an alibi?
Well,
the alibi was the plane.
His alibi is he's asleep. That's what he says. He's sleeping.
Well, wasn't he supposed to be on a plane?
But before that, he's not. Okay. The murders happen at 10:35 to 10:45. Okay. So where's OJ at 10:35 to 10:45? Okay. And we can get into Jill Shively, who says she sees him crash the car at 10:50 p.m. So that's what they're trying to say is, where are you during the murders? I overslept. Why can't a man just be at his house? That's what he keeps saying over the years. Why do I have to account for myself? I'm at home. Well, that's the problem. There's nobody else home with you. Kato's in the back house. Arnell supposedly is at the movies.
Who's Arnell?
The daughter, OJ's daughter.
Right. Okay.
So, all right. So just speeding forward. So everyone's looking at OJ. Cameras. He's with Weitzman. That's when Weitzman does the famous line. Like he goes, hey man, I know you got to ask the questions, but he's not going to talk to you. Like that's the famous, these are like iconic imagery, which you know. Okay. OJ is let free for about 4 days. Okay. The Bronco chase is going to happen on the 17th. So when they issue the warrant And Gascon comes, funny name, Gascon again, comes on and goes, we have issued a warrant for OJ Simpson. He is a fugitive. We're actively searching for OJ Simpson because he escapes Rob Kardashian's house on June 17th. He drives to Nicole's grave with AC in the white Bronco, which is AC's Bronco, not the murder vehicle. That's in evidence. He owned the identical car.
Fascinating. I didn't even know that. So the Bronco that they went in the chase, took the cops on the chase on, is not the Bronco with all the blood in it.
That's totally
from
that's evidence.
OJ's house.
That's evidence.
It's in evidence.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing.
So he bought the same vehicle. He that
was a hot car. That was a fly car back then. Yeah.
And I think Paula Barbieri had one too. That was OJ's girlfriend. So anyway, so they drive. He's suicidal at this point. He has a gun to his head in the car.
Yeah.
Okay. He drives to Nicole's grave, which is in Orange County, California, and he goes to visit her one last time. He's thinking of blowing his head off right at the grave. AC's telling him, don't do it, don't do it. Okay. They get back in the Bronco. Now they're coming north on the 405. Now everyone knows, everybody and their mother, unless you live under a rock, knew that the juice is loose. Mm-hmm. The Orange County Sheriff begins the pursuit first. They're not in LA yet. They know where he is. They are already on him. Somebody ratted him out. I saw OJ screaming at the grave. He's yelling like, it's your fault. Wow. Yeah. At the grave, at Nicole, because he's about to murder himself. Mm-hmm. He gets back in the Bronco. He's got the gun. He tells Paula Barry, he pulls the trigger. The towel stops the trigger, the hammer. Mm-hmm. To put that in her book, The Other Woman.
Do you believe that? Since OJ is a narcissist?
I do. I believe
you think he would have really killed himself?
Yes, absolutely. He was way messed up in the head.
Okay.
Way messed up. He loved Nicole. And I know we say, oh, he hated her. Love and hate are not the opposite. Indifference is the opposite of love. So he was a mess. Okay. A mess. Now we see the Bronco. Everyone's watching, know where they were. He's coming up. People are at the signs on the side of the road. And AC saying, don't do it. Don't do it. That's why you hear him on the phone call. And that's Tom Lang, the detective. Come on, OJ, everybody loves you. Don't do it, man. Don't do it. And OJ's trying to do it. And you hear AC panicking. Don't do it. So they finally come to Rockingham. He finally agrees after like this long chase. He finally agrees. He pulls in. That's when Jason runs out to the car and they pull him back. They're going to sniper him. The guy came forward and said, we're going to kill OJ right there in the car. That's why they're pulling Jason back. Like, get back.
Right.
Bing. Yeah. He was a fugitive. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, then he comes in. Now you see that he has no tie on. He's got the shirt buttoned up. They didn't let him sleep. He's all tired and he looks into the arraignment, not guilty. Like that's that famous story. Like he has no tie, but it's buttoned up. You could see he's missing a tie. They're like torturing him in the jail. Anyway, now he's fully arrested and now it's go time. We're building to the preliminary hearing. All the characters like Kato Kalin, Alan Park, things are leaking out. Jill Shively, she saw him. The news is everywhere. They're interviewing everyone. Faye Resnick's going to write a book. Okay. While the trial's going on, Steven Singular's writing a book, who is a reporter that wrote Legacy of Deception. He's getting stuff about Furman early on. He's telling the defense. It's crazy. There's so much, but
No, of course. Well, the rest is history, as we say, right? You know, the Mark Furman tapes, him saying the N-word, the fact that the blood collection, DNA was brand new, and the defense was able to show that there was blood collection that was mishandled.
Done later. They don't find blood in the Bronco for 3 weeks.
Right.
They don't find blood on the socks for 2 weeks. Like there's all these delays, like, and they're like, so,
but insane. So much evidence against him that it's like open and shut. You know, he's probably not even taking it to trial.
That's why they said there's too much evidence. That's why they told them that. I said this in my last interview.
Right.
There's too much evidence. They told the prosecution there's a problem. Joseph Bosco wrote the book, A Problem of Evidence. There was so much, but because they didn't know there was an accomplice, they were doomed. Yeah. They were doomed. Now, look, you're right. Look, OJ's blood's in his driveway. It's in his foyer. It's in his sink drain. It's at Bundy next to his, there's a lot. I mean, it's so obvious, right? Okay.
Do you think if it would have been easier to get a conviction if they had introduced this accomplice theory?
Yes.
Why?
Because he could have routed OJ out and they could have squeezed Joey and Charlie for like, once they knew, if they figured out it was Ehrlich, right, with OJ, now they squeeze him, flip on OJ.
How could they have found Ehrlich? How did they know who this guy was?
I know there's people that knew he was there. I know mob guys that know he was there. They would have had to do some investigating, squeezing some people, right? Marcia Clark's office called the U.S. Marshal and goes, "Where's Ippolito? Where is he?" Like, he's on the run. We don't know where he is. Where is he? See, they already were like thinking like he's involved, like something's up.
So do you have proof of that?
Yes.
Marcia Clark was talking about Joey
Marcia
Ippolito?
Clark, someone from her office.
Okay.
It's in the guy's book. His name is Mike. He wrote a book. It came out years ago, but I only just saw it. He's a U.S. Marshal, puts in his book that they called and said, "Where's Ippolito?" Because he tells a story like, we're looking for this guy for a year. They didn't find him until December.
Okay.
Joey is the precipice of this murder.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, I hope you're loving this episode with Chris Todd. Just a reminder that I am coming out to do stand-up comedy on the road next month. In June 20th, I will be at the Tempe Improv. That's in Phoenix, Arizona, one night only. And then June 21st and 22nd, I will be in Fort Worth, Texas. That's Dallas, Fort Worth, at the Big Laughs Comedy Club. I'm doing 4 shows over there. Get your tickets at linktree.com/Johnny Mitchell. The link is in the description of this episode. And then you could always go to my Instagram, and I've got the link on the page there, linktree.com/Johnny Mitchell. I will see you out on the road. All right, back to Chris Todd. Okay, so now let's talk about what was really going on. Take us back to OJ Simpson in Buffalo in the 80s. Tell us about his coke problem.
70s.
The 70s.
Sure.
Tell us about who he started running around with, his connection to the mob, his coke habit, and how that all comes together that night at Bundy.
That's a lot. I'll try to give it to you short. A woman wrote a book. Her name was Sheila Weller. She wrote a book called Raging Heart. Raging Heart is the best book to read to understand OJ's relationships with the mob guys. Joe Stellini and how he met him and how he met Rob Kardashian and who Rothschild was. And there's a Tom I forgot his last name, McCullum and all these guys. Okay. Here's the short answer. When OJ goes to Buffalo, this is early 70s. He only went to college for 2 years. Just 2 years at JUCO, 2 years at USC.
And then gets drafted by Buffalo.
Number 1.
Yep.
Okay. And he's already meeting these shady LA mob guys right away.
In Buffalo?
In LA.
Okay.
In LA.
Okay.
In Buffalo, he knew a couple guys, Butch Sukarski, Mike Militello. They owned a club. They were looked at for cocaine. He knew these guys. What I'm trying to get at is it's not rip roaring yet. His real mob stuff is early 90s.
Okay.
It's not going to be like in the 70s. He's like a kid, man.
Right. Okay.
He's a kid.
Okay. So do you think his coke problem got worse when he retired, after he retired?
Supposedly he was always up and down because OJ will tell you he never does coke. He would tell you, if he was still alive today, he will tell you with a straight face, I done it like twice in 30 years. Lie. So he was supposedly using it in the 70s. There was a couple instances where he was being investigated, and so was Mike Militello. Butch Sukarski got murdered by the mob in Miami in 94, right after the murders. What a coincidence. Wow. How does he know Butch Sukarski? It's called Casey's Nickelodeon. Look up the murders. It was a triple murder. He was killed with 2 other girls.
And were those mob guys that were selling coke to OJ?
Yes, they were Colombian mob killers.
And they were selling coke, these guys that they got killed?
They were somehow involved, yes.
Okay.
So anyway, moving on. So I'm going to take you to Aventura, which is Turnberry Isle. So in the 70s in Buffalo, Buffalo mob was big, the Buffalo crime family. I knew a guy told me OJ was at a restaurant. And he's like, I saw so many mob guys at this restaurant. And then OJ Simpson walked in. He's like, he looked so out of place. And I was like, hey, thanks for telling me the story. So he was having some touching them in the 70s. As the 80s come, now we're going to Turnberry Isle. The playland of the rich in Miami. It was called Aventura, Turnberry Isle.
And that's a neighborhood in Miami?
It's a resort.
Okay.
All the rich, famous Donna Rice scandal came out of there. Gary Hart, all the rich, famous men used to go there for the girls, pretty girls, and the drugs. And they used to joke, oh, the 30th floor and up is all mob. Like, so like in the building, like if you went past this floor, all mafia. The place was built by the mob. Don Sofer. Now, who does OJ thank in his suicide letter? Don Sofer. Why? Thanks B. Wayne Hughes. These are his golf buddies at Aventura, at Turnberry Isle. This is where they hung out and partied, and that's where Joey Ippolito is. And that's where Joey and Charlie, I believe, meet in the 80s.
I see. And that's where they met OJ. Okay. So OJ was always kind of brushing shoulders with these white collar criminals, with these white collar mob guys. These
basically their vice was drugs and beautiful women.
Yeah.
So put them together. They're at Aventura in Miami.
And I can totally see that because OJ, again, was like the black guy that was always running in white guy circles.
The guy could get more women than you could shake a stick at in his sleep.
That too. Yeah. And
his sleep.
He wasn't jealous of Nicole.
He slept with Farrah Fawcett. I'm going to say it right now. And he slept with Elizabeth Shue.
Nice.
And I'm going to put that out there because I know their people are going to go crazy and I want them to come forward. So, and Tawny Katane. And OJ had a lot of, look, we know a lot of white women like black men. They did. Okay. So now the golfing, the drugs, the boats. Now remember the boats, Don Aronow, Joey Ippolito, Ben Kramer, Bobby Sacenti. These are the cocaine cowboys, Sal Magluta, right? Willie Falcone. I met some of these guys. They knew it too. Oh yeah, OJ. I have a picture of OJ buying a speedboat from Thomas Adams. Well, what happened to Thomas Adams 4 weeks later? He got murdered, gunned down by Colombians. So the Colombians dealt the coke to the mob through Miami. Now, if you remember, even when the case started and they go, well, Colombian drug lords did the killing. Well, it's partially true, isn't it? Like there's a connection there.
So the OJ connection is he likes to be in this scene with all these hot women and he likes good coke. And the mob has the good coke. They're getting it from the Colombians.
And the girls.
Right.
They run prostitution. Right. They run all the clubs.
Yeah. And he's world famous now.
And they love
that. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Did he ever introduce drug dealers to distributors? Like, did he ever introduce coke dealers to like guys that wanted to get in the game?
Are we talking about the 80s or are we talking 94? Like right before the murders?
Either one.
Let's focus on the murders. Okay. So basically the way through Charlie's confession, through his tape evidence, the book he was supposed to write, all the stuff I discovered about Joey Ippolito, his brothers, the families, the mob, all the stuff that we go into. Joey was giving OJ kickbacks for introducing celebrities and athletes to him to purchase drugs. Okay. That's right before the murders, maybe even years before. I can't hard confirm how much drug dealing was done before, let's say 93 and 94.
Why would OJ, who's got a ton of money still in 94?
He doesn't.
Why?
He doesn't play football anymore.
Yeah, but he's got Hertz commercials, sponsorships. I mean, did he blow it all?
But let's remember, these football guys did not make that much money in the 70s. Go look at what they made compared to today. Go look at what Patrick Mahomes makes today to what OJ was paid as the number one pick. I think he made $250,000. Now, granted, back then, that's probably $3 or $4 million. It's not $50 million. Like, so my point is, he didn't have that much money. That's why Charlie tells you that. He needed to fill in these gaps because Charlie tells you the reasoning behind like the money situation. You feel me?
How do you know that?
Because that's in the confession.
Okay, that's in Charlie's confession.
It's in the screenplay and it's on the tape.
Interesting.
That OJ still needed to make money. He had a lot of bills. He owed Nicole $30,000 a month in child support.
Yeah, of course.
And he was not making that. He tells you that in his book too, in chapter 6, before like Charlie even shows up. He goes into the story of like, I'm not what I used to be. My body's breaking down. I'm not making as much money as I used to make, but I'm a fighter. I'm a hustler. I'm going to keep going. Wow. And then a car shows up. Oh, whose car is that? That's how he leads you. I didn't talk to my dad for 10 years. He's trying to tell you like in about 2 minutes, my life is going to change forever. He's reminiscing. It's fascinating. Chapter 6 is a fascinating chapter, But so
okay, so he kind of needed money still.
remember,
So
Nicole's doing coke. Faye Resnick's doing coke.
Right.
They're all doing coke. The whole town's on cocaine. So what better to have the best Colombian puro cocaine in the world is at your house with the hottest chicks you've ever seen. Think about that.
So OJ might have been like the gateway to good coke for all of the celebrities in LA at the time.
Ippolito used Ehrlich to run the coke from Miami to him. Joey's the alpha male. He threatened to murder Ehrlich before. He already threw him in a trunk. He was almost murdered. They tell you that in the screenplay. They tell you that on the tape. And so Ippolito was using OJ because he's giving OJ free. And he basically is bringing the women and the actors, and OJ's getting paid to introduce Joey. Okay, so
hold on, let's finish that.
So Joey is using OJ for the customers.
Right. Introduce me to your celebrity friends
who have a coke problem.
Yeah. And I will
give you 10 grand every freaking 2 seconds. Like Joey had like horses. He owned like boats. These guys were loaded. You know this. You have experience with this.
Okay. So it's, I got it. So just to summarize this connection, it's the New Jersey based mob operating in Miami that's sourcing the cocaine from the Colombians, and in LA, distributing those drugs
with the Bonanos
through celebrities, two celebrities through OJ Simpson.
Yes, with other mob families. So Joey's also using Lucchese and Bonanno.
Okay.
And that's why he gets busted with Lucchese and Bonanno guys.
So is that eventually what happened to Joey Ippolito?
Yes, he was pinched, and James Caan went to his trial and said, I'll put up my house. James Caan was mob.
Wow.
Yes.
Did he get pinched in LA?
92. He was pinched with Ronnie Lorenzo, Operation Lassima, LA Sicilian Mafia. You can look it up. It's online. And James Caan had to go to the trial and say, this is my guy. He would never do anything like that. James Caan was mob. So was his father.
So, and Ippolito died in prison?
No, Ippolito died of terminal brain cancer in 2006. He went to jail in and out. He was an informant. He kept getting out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. All right. So that's the guy that OJ's getting his coke from. And he's got basically a worker. What would you call him? A bagman?
They call him the ghost. Charlie's the ghost.
So, but what was his function for Ippolito? Was he a made guy, or was he just?
I don't think he's made, because they say the Jews couldn't be made, so he's Jewish. So they try to. That's why we say Genovese crime family, Meyer Lansky, because they became the Genovese. That's the OG. The Jews created the mafia with the Italians. People don't give them that credit. They did. Meyer Lansky was a kingpin. Okay. And Luciano was part of them. Anyway, so what I'm saying is Joey and Charlie, he calls Charlie the ghost. You run the stuff. You're behind the scenes. You bring me the keys to the car. In the trunk is loaded with cocaine. You come and you physically hand me the keys. So Ehrlich would fly from Miami as the runners, the Colombians, are running it to LA. It's all described in the confession.
So he was the handler. He was the guy that was handling everything for Joey in LA.
I call him the ghost, or you might call him the runner, right? He's kind of the runner. Joey's the front man
for Ippolito in LA.
50 kilos a month.
Okay, got it. So this is a multi-million-dollar a year
beyond
operation.
anything you could imagine.
And OJ was getting 10% of that.
Sure, whatever. He was like, I don't know exactly.
But it's conceivable he was making hundreds of thousands of dollars by basically being the agent for these coke dealers.
Being the coolest guy in town, that you have the biggest, best coke in the game. But the problem is that Joey Ippolito is a snake.
Okay.
That's the problem. He brought the wolf to the hen house.
Where is Charlie from? Charlie Ehrlich?
New York.
Okay. So.
But he lives in Miami.
Okay. So he becomes friends with, would you call them friends?
He barely knew OJ. He just met him.
Really?
Yep. 3 months before.
Why just met him?
He was in jail.
Okay.
He was in jail for like 7.5 years, from like 87 to like 93. It's very hard to pin when he got out. Right when he gets out, Ippolito goes, why don't you come work for me and be the ghost? He's like, I hate LA. That's why he tells the story. He talks like this. I didn't want to go to LA.
Right.
Why'd you go to LA? Because they're making millions of dollars.
Right.
And he's afraid of Joey too.
Okay.
Joey was, dude, this guy, I'm telling you, not many people know his name. And I know a lot of the mob guys, I love those guys. I know some of those guys. Joey is on another level, man, with the OJ thing. He's the legend.
Yeah, well, because he's from the New Jersey mob,
And
which nobody talks about.
Right. They don't get the respect,
Yeah.
but they were very close to Meyer Lansky.
Mhm.
They were. That boat running operation was Meyer, and Sam the plumber was involved in that too. He's De Cavalcante. That's him.
Mhm.
So they try to downplay. I just watched an interview where they go, oh, the New Jersey, we didn't care about the New Jersey mob. Dude, those guys were way connected, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually buy all of this. I buy that OJ, is spending more than he's bringing in. And really, this Coke money, this Coke commission money is really helping him stay solvent. So Charlie Ehrlich meets OJ 3 months before June 12th when
And
the
that's
murders go
described
down.
in the confession, how they meet at Rockingham. Hey, I'm AC. Hey, I'm OJ. Hey, Charlie, come in. I want you to meet somebody. Joey was staying at OJ's house.
Joey was.
On and off. Well, because remember, Nicole's gone.
Right.
The kids are with Nicole. He's getting, he's scheduling it out. He lives alone.
Is he partying with Nicole? Like Nicole's doing
They're
coke?
still dating at the very end. They still dated. It's hard to explain. Even after their divorce, Nicole got back together with OJ about a year later. So for 2.5 years, they're divorced, right? For the first year, she's playing around a little bit. The last year, she gets back with OJ, but she's also sleeping with Marcus Allen.
Who is who?
Marcus Allen, the running back.
Marcus Allen.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And OJ told her, if you sleep with Marcus Allen, I'll kill you.
What about Ron Goldman? Do we know for sure that they were sleeping together? Who is this kid?
If you want to ask me and go into it, there's things I know about him that no one's ever heard. I could talk about today if you want.
Yes, please.
They were not lovers. They only hung out 3 times.
And they met at that restaurant he was working at?
There's 50 stories of how they met. They met at a gym first, then they met at Starbucks. I guess they met at a gym. There was a gym in Brentwood. I believe that's where they met.
How do you know they weren't sleeping together?
Well, the way I say it is this. There's no proof that they did. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, in the discovery file, I will say this. I'll give you an exclusive because I appreciate you having me on. I have a statement from one of Ron's friends that no one's ever seen. You could never get it. I have it from one of his friends that talks about Nicole talking to him on the phone for a few nights, and that Ron was in love with Nicole Brown Simpson.
Right. So, but they had just met basically. They had only been out a few times.
He asked her to go back to his place one time. He tried to get with Nicole.
Okay.
And you're the first person to ever hear that.
Okay. So what is he doing there that night?
He's bringing back the glasses that Judita Brown dropped on the sidewalk at Mezzaluna.
Okay. So Mezzaluna is the restaurant that Nicole was eating at.
Had her last supper at.
Right. Before she came back to her house on
And
Bundy.
Ron was working that night as he's a waiter at Mezzaluna.
Who was she there at Mezzaluna
Her
with?
family. There was a recital.
Okay.
It was after the recital at the Paul Revere School. OJ was there. Ron Fishman's the famous story. And then they go to Mezzaluna for dinner.
Right.
OJ's supposed to go, but they don't invite him.
Right.
So he's mad. I mean, this is all the classic.
And of course, he's on so much blow.
His toxicology report, all of their toxicology reports come back negative. Just so you know, I have it.
Wow.
Yeah. So actually, technically, but remember, blow leaves your system in 24 hours.
That's true.
So did they do it the night before? Maybe.
Right.
Did the LAPD mess up the top? Who knows?
OJ Simpson didn't need blow to be crazy.
It's all negative. So I'll just stick up for that.
So do you believe, in your best estimation, that story about him returning the glasses to her house is true?
Yes.
So that means,
and everyone says he's a drug dealer and he had a pager and he was slinging cocaine and so was Brett Cantor and so was Michael Nigg.
Why is he working as a waiter though?
It's man, I'm telling you, like when I'm glad you are opening this Pandora's box. This OJ thing is the craziest stuff you've ever heard in your life. The people that are going to comment on your thing are completely gone. Okay. So be ready for those comments in the thing, which is fine. But I'm saying this thing is a monster. It is a spider web.
Hang on. So he must have known Ron Goldman. How did he know where Nicole lived?
I don't think he'd ever been at Nicole's house, to be honest. I really don't. Now, here's the way he would know is because Nicole calls and goes, can you bring the glasses by?
And so Mezzaluna must have been right down the street.
Oh yeah, it's close. Yeah. So Nicole calls and says, my mom, Judita calls Nicole first and says, I think I left my glasses at Mezzaluna. Okay.
Who's Judita?
Judith Brown.
Got
they call her Judita. She was German. They call her Judita.
Okay.
So that's Nicole's mom.
Oh, I see.
So they all go to dinner
I
with
see.
them. She
Right,
drops
right,
the glasses. Okay. Let me call Mezzaluna. She calls Karen Crawford. Karen Crawford says, okay, I'll put him in an envelope. Sounds good. Something happens. There's like another call. And then she goes, oh, wait, Ron's working.
Right.
Now she calls back and goes, hey, can I talk to Ron? He's just doing her a favor, man.
Okay.
And he goes, can you bring the glasses by my house? She probably gives him the address. I don't think he was ever at her house.
Oh, poor kid. I hope he got the before he died, but it doesn't sound like it. So
I could be wrong. I mean,
it doesn't really matter though. It doesn't really matter to the,
he was obviously
the facts of the case.
infatuated with her.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Of course.
Come on, dude.
It sounds like it may have become something.
A dude in the 90s.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I mean,
but it sounds like it could have become something. It
Sure.
could have been but she was definitely sleeping with Marcus Allen. Was OJ, but you said in another interview, I heard you say that OJ would not have cared if she was sleeping with someone else.
Because the reason I say that too is because OJ had cheated on Nicole so many times, okay, that you almost have to side with Nicole for a minute and OJ also did say, there's times OJ, man, he was like this, man. Like sometimes he was super chill. Oh, I didn't care. She told me she slept with Marcus Allen. She did. She took him to dinner and said, he's not your friend. And she was crying. And he's like, what are you talking about? And OJ took it well. He did. He didn't haul off and belt her.
Right.
Like he said, I don't want to know. And she's like, Marcus isn't your friend. And he's like, why are you telling? Nicole was torturing this guy too, man. She kept telling him what she was doing. And they had some weird pact like, oh, we have to tell each other. Come on, man, that's sick. I don't want to know what you're doing with Marcus Allen. And then they tell stories about his size of his, you know what, and they say it in the book and they talk about that. Yeah.
Okay. So that still doesn't, I don't really accept that. I think he cares if he walks in on Nicole with another man at the house.
Well, it sets him off when he sees Ron Goldman at the front gate, right?
Especially a white boy.
A white boy, good looking, wearing the stylish clothing. Yeah. He's standing there, talking. She's barefoot in the skimpy black dress. Yeah. And he's just got extorted. One or two mafia guys showed up. A mob guy just showed up and goes, you owe us a bunch of money. Right. And he's supposed to get on a red eye. And guess who breaks up with him in the morning at 7 a.m.? Paula Barbieri leaves him a Dear John message that she's leaving him. Okay. This guy had the worst day in history.
Okay. Well, I think Nicole had a worse one, but okay. So, all right. So we're now setting the stage for what happened. What happens next? What is Charlie doing at OJ's house at this time when they go down to confront Nicole at 10:30?
It's like 10. It's a little after 10:05.
Okay.
We can never get the exact time. Charlie told us a time. He one time said he was there at 9:30 a.m. It doesn't make sense. They're at McDonald's with Kato. I think he was just trying to say like, I was there an hour before the murders and he's trying to confuse you.
9:30 p.m.
Yeah. 9:30. Because
but there's also a witness. Didn't a neighbor hear
there's so
Goldman
much,
saying, hey.
That's at 10:37, 10:38.
Okay. So how long do you think this whole interaction took?
Well, here, let's go walk it through it.
Cool.
Okay. So
what was Ehrlich doing at OJ's house?
I want to tell it through OJ's eyes.
All right.
So OJ tells you, I looked at my watch. It was 10:03 p.m. The reason he says 10:03 p.m. because that's when he called Paula Barbieri for the last time to reconcile with her. She went to Vegas with Michael Bolton. Okay?
Nice.
So he goes, I looked at my watch. It was 10:03 p.m. Maybe Charlie was right. It wasn't my fault. It was Nicole's fault. I had just enough time to read her the riot act because Charlie showed up. He's there. It's hard to explain. Charlie shows up at about 10 p.m. Okay. You owe us some money. Joey wants his money. Okay. OJ's like, what are you doing? He's chipping golf balls in his front yard. Like, what's going on? What are you doing, man? What are you talking about? Where's Joey at? Oh, Joey just wants his money. He's got bosses. We all got bosses. So this sets OJ off, right? Now, when I say the 10:03, I'm talking about the book. When he says in the book, I just had just enough time to go read her the riot act. So what he's saying in his head is, let's go to Nicole's. Charlie, get in the Bronco.
Okay, so Charlie showed up unannounced to OJ's house. Like, so there was some coke debts out there.
By
Now-
everyone you're close to, OJ, everybody. You guys owe us money. It's an extortion.
But why would OJ, what's OJ's business? Like, why is that OJ's business? Isn't he just...
Because he's the one you can be extorted. He's famous.
Right.
He's got the money. Where are they going to go? Tell Nicole and Faye you owe us 50 grand. Where are they going to get their money from? OJ? No, it's a classic mob setup. You go to the famous guy who can't run anybody else. Where's he going to go? He's going to go to the cops? Oh, this mob guy is threatening to out me for cocaine. So
there's a bunch of celebrities that owe these mob guys money for coke.
You ever hear the story of Robin Williams? Where
hang on. I don't care about that.
Sorry.
So I don't, that's tough for me. Although I know coke's expensive, but like they owe 50 grand in coke money, 100 grand in coke money to these mob guys.
Extortion. They don't owe it. It's a setup.
So
ask your mob guys, ask your boys.
I don't need to ask.
Okay. No, you know what I'm saying.
Ask these guys.
I know.
No, I don't know what you're saying. Mob guys don't act like this.
Okay, go ahead.
This is not a thorough. The mob guys I've had on this show would never do this. They would
never extort someone?
Not if they got a hustle like this, selling coke to people with big money. That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Let's do the showdown because I like you and you're a respectful guy. Ready? Let's do the showdown. Do you think mob guys extort people?
Yes.
Okay. So then why would it be different if Joey Ippolito extorts OJ Simpson?
Because they're making huge money out of him. They're making mob guys. If that's a business, yeah, they shake down businesses in their neighborhood that's on a collection route. Sure.
Okay.
But if they're making money through a construction company that's whether it's legal or illegal and the money's flowing, they don't just then go pull like a strong arm move. Unless something's gone really bad for them.
Well,
do you know what I mean? It's like a drug dealer. I'm selling drugs to you. Okay. This is the best way to describe it. Forget about if they're mobbed up or not. You are my drug customer. I'm selling you drugs. Why do I then go and rob you as my customer? Unless you owe me a bunch of money, right? What I'm saying is it seems fishy to me that I would let a bunch of Hollywood celebrities run up drug debts. Crackheads in the ghetto, yes, pay me back when your government check comes on the 1st and the 15th. That's how you keep the clientele up.
Yeah.
But why am I letting, why am I letting all these celebrities run up huge debts?
Okay, here's how I'll say how Ehrlich says it too.
Okay.
In the confession and the story and all the whole thing. Okay. So when Ehrlich shows up, he goes, Joey wants you guys, your payments are a little overdue. That's verbatim. Okay. So he's saying to OJ, Nicole, Faye, tries to throw out Keith Z's name from Mezzaluna, who slept with Nicole. These mob guys, look, they're kind of scumbags. Like, I'm just going to say it in a way. Ippolito, you could say, is desperate for money. He's on the run, right? Remember, he's a fugitive right now. In June of 94, he is a fugitive from Pensacola. I can prove that, and that's in the public domain. Okay. So he sends Ehrlich over there, go get my money. Go get me some money from OJ. I'm not saying they're going to burn OJ's house down to the ground, but these mob guys, that's what they do. So if they go up to him and maybe look at it this way too, what if they're done with OJ? What if they're tired of him? What if they're tired of Nicole and Faye and Keith and the Mezzaluna guys? And so they just want money. And I know what you're saying.
Okay.
Trust me. I can't speak for like Joey Ippolito of why you're right. If he's doing everything good, why would you want to go piss him off? Right. I get it. Yeah. But I know another guy too that had a gun stuck in his mouth in Miami that Joey set up too. Why did Joey pinch that guy? He was making him money too. Like they rob each other, man. They,
Okay. Well, look, we have to, this is what we have to go on.
Sure.
So we kind of have to accept this in a way, right? Clearly there's enough physical evidence of an accomplice that's irrefutable. The motive to me is something that we may never know.
I know it's hard. Yeah. And I agree with you. Because even when I tell the story sometimes, and even when I told some reporters years ago, even listening to myself, I had private eyes that I worked with too. And they'd be like, man, you can't keep telling all the drug stuff, man. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, so I get it. Like when I start talking cocaine and OJ's murders, it's like oil and water, man. It's like, you feel me?
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ehrlich shows up, pisses OJ off
we
a
want
little
50
bit.
grand.
Yeah. 50 grand is what they said. We want 50 grand. Now, why doesn't OJ go get them? Why does he think about going?
Because he snaps. He loses control. He should have just said, hey, give me a couple days. What's up? He overreacts. That's why Charlie says OJ did it.
So,
it's
but
fault.
why go to Nicole's house for 50 grand?
Because Charlie's telling him they owe us money too. It's a way to roll the crap downhill. It's OJ victimizing Nicole and Faye. If you look at Bruce Fromong does an interview, OJ's best friend who got robbed in Vegas. He does an interview and he goes, well, I heard Faye and Nicole ran up a coke debt like over $30,000. Why is he saying that? How does he know that? Because OJ told them this in 94.
Right.
This was swirling. Like this is a certain, man, the way I look at it is this. It's a decadent circle. It's almost like, look, you know a lot of famous people. I know a lot of the people you know and hang out with and all these sort. Bro, these people have money, power, drugs, women. They all know each other, right? They all protect. Your guys are going to protect you. You're going to protect them. A lot of money's at stake. Okay.
Okay.
And so they're running in this decadent circle.
Right.
They're all involved. I had a guy, brilliant guy, one goes, it's all going to connect. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, they're all going to connect to each other. Watch.
Okay. So they head down to Nicole's house, which is only what, like 5 minutes down the road from where OJ's living?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
And it's wild when you actually go to, what's the address? 827?
875 Bundy.
875 Bundy. That's like a busy street.
Oh yeah. That's Wilshire and Bundy.
Yeah, it's Wilshire and Bundy. I used to go to the cafe right on the corner right there. So it's like, it's not tucked away in some like gated community like Bel Air where Rottingham was, where OJ was living.
Rockingham. Yeah.
Rockingham, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So they show up and then what happens next? They knock on the door, Goldman, they see Goldman in there.
You tell me how you want me to tell you this.
I don't want the official story. I want what Charlie and OJ.
Details, or
I want, tell us through all of the evidence that you have from Charlie's confession, from the unleaked files from the LAPD and from OJ's book. If I did it.
Sure.
Please.
Sure. So the first way I have to preface it is, I'm not God. I wasn't there. I'll give you my theory, my postulation. I opine that OJ and Charlie look out front first in the Bronco to see if she's home. They pull around the back and they park in the alley. In the alley, OJ pulls out a knife that Ehrlich does not really know he has.
What kind of knife is that?
It's a Victoronic Swiss Army hunting knife. Single-edged blade.
So that's a big,
not that big. 5 inches long, maybe.
Okay. Swiss Army. So it folds,
opens
and folds.
Hunting knife. There's one I've seen that matches the wounds.
Does he put on his hat?
So now watch. I'm going to tell you the story from Charlie's. Everyone, I'm going to mix them all together.
Okay.
So all the details are not going to be perfectly, because you know what I'm saying. There's different scenarios. Okay. So OJ, they pull around back. It's quiet. It's dead quiet. They turn the engine off. They're sitting in the alley. Charlie's like, what are we doing? Like, come on, man. You're going to go talk to her. He pulls out the knife, goes, look at this blade. OJ tells you this in his book. Look at this blade. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Give me the knife. So Ehrlich takes the knife. That's what OJ tells you. So OJ goes, in the book. So they're going to play a game. Let's just say he takes the knife. Ehrlich has his own knife too, and probably a gun. He's a cocaine smuggler, enforcer. Has weapons. People always ask me this question. He has weapons on him. Okay. At that point, he's like, go in there and talk to her and I'll hold the knife. You look like a psycho. You got the cap on. He's putting the cap on. He's putting the gloves on. He's like, what are you doing, dude? He's actually dressed in black. He actually was wearing black at the recital. If you look at the photos, you'll see him. There's a video of him. So he looks like a burglar. Yeah. Okay. Now, does Ehrlich stay in the Bronco and just OJ walks in? Probably not. But the way they try to tell you that is that's how OJ goes in first, and Ehrlich follows this guy in, saying that he sees Ron Goldman come through the back gate. Goldman comes from the front. OJ's he never lets anybody win. I drove this way. He didn't drive that way. He came. It's super hard. There's so many details, but let's just say it this way. Ehrlich and OJ come through the back gate together. He has a key. He stole it from Nicole. I have it in the freaking discovery file where she talks about someone stole my key. OJ took her key. So they go through the back gate. He's stalking her. Ehrlich's with him, probably along for the ride. The adrenaline's going. this is OJ Simpson. This is going to be fun, right? This is going to be interesting. What are we going to do? He doesn't think he's going to murder anybody. There's kids are home. His kids are upstairs.
His stepkids.
Him and Nicole.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. His actual kids. Yeah,
real
no, you're right.
children,
You're right.
two
Yeah.
babies are in the house. It's 10:30. What if they're awake? How do you know they're asleep? Kids don't always go to bed at 10:30. They're running around. Yeah. Anyway, they're creeping down the dark alley. It's dark. Yeah. This alley is a long walkway. They go up and down stairs like this. It's covered. This is where people didn't realize, yes, it's a busy street, but the way they're crushed in there, they're in a killing cage, man. Right. There's like two gates like this. Yeah. They're right in the middle, man.
And I didn't realize he went in through the back. Okay.
Yes. You can't park that car on the front, and you don't want to be seen, so they go to the back. So when they come, there's Goldman. There's Nicole. They're talking by the gate.
Oh, they're outdoors.
They're outside. They're not in the house. They never go in the house. They're out by the front gate. She's holding a menu. It's why they find a menu. She comes out. He's holding the envelope. They're talking. They never go in the house.
Oh my God. So they showed up within minutes of Goldman getting there.
This is like God stuff, man. Wow. This is like within minutes. They're already there. What I think happened is Goldman shows up about 10:35. I think when Charlie and OJ leave at 10:20, because the limo shows up at 10:25, they just miss the limo. Just miss it by minutes.
What limo?
The Allen Park's coming to pick up OJ to go to the airport.
I got you. Okay.
This is very important to the case. He misses him by a couple minutes. Oh, no one was home. I'm buzzing the gates. Right. So I went.
And so does he wait? Does Allen Park wait for him?
Yeah. Okay. He waits, and that's where we can get to that too.
Okay, so they're creeping down the alley that runs along the side of the house.
There's a good-looking white kid with OJ's wife, barefoot in the skimpy dress, holding a menu. He's holding an envelope, and they jump on them, meaning verbally. Not physically yet. Okay. They come in. What's going on? What's up? Look at this guy. What's up? What are you doing here, OJ? She snaps. Like, what are you doing? Like, you think about it. He just creeps up. He's dressed like an assassin. She's mad. She hates his guts right now. They were at each other like cats and dogs for the last 2 weeks. Okay. F you, goes back and forth. What's this guy do? I heard all you guys are dealing on the side. That's what he tells him. He says it in the book. Yeah.
I heard all you guys were dealing
on the side.
Meaning like Nicole's circle?
Goldman. Yeah, no, to Goldman, he says it. You guys are dealers. That's why he's holding the envelope. OJ's trying to say Goldman's dealing cocaine. This is where this is the subliminal messaging right here. So he goes, oh, I heard half you guys are dealing on the side. What are you doing here? Oh, I just came by to bring the glasses. And OJ goes, I didn't know if I believed him or not, but it didn't matter because I was worried about everything that was going on. And he's trying to tell you, I am going to snap in 1 second if she does not say something I want to hear. Ehrlich's just hanging behind him, man. Ehrlich's not saying a word.
And so he's saying that she was firing on him, snapping on him. You
get out of here. Why are you here? Like, what do you do? Don't leave him alone. Yeah. Like, and there's a fight starts quickly. Verbal, bang, bang, bang. Now, OJ says, Nicole came at me all flailing arms and things. Yeah. She swings on OJ.
Okay.
Nicole does.
Okay.
She's dead. They're dead. Now it's over.
Okay. So how does it elevate?
Right when the fight starts, and that's it. He whacks her. Boom. She goes down. Goldman gets in the karate stance. That's why they say this guy got in this karate thing. That's why OJ tells you that. Oh, you think you could kick my ass? And he starts bobbing and weaving.
Hang on. So he knocks Nicole out, right?
He punches her.
They found a bruise on her head.
Top of the head.
So is that from her hitting the ground?
I don't know if they say there's a bruise to the brain that they didn't even find at first, that they didn't even know what that was. OJ says, she came at me all arms flailing and legs flailing, and she fell and hurt herself. He tries to say like she hit the stoop by herself. Classic re-victimization.
Did he take out the knife and start stabbing her after she fell?
No, he whacks her.
Okay, so he basically knocks her out.
He
punches
like dazes her. She's down.
Right. And then now Goldman's there. Tries to square
Two
up.
of them, and OJ pulls out the knife, but OJ says, well, Charlie showed up, followed this guy in, and he brought the knife. As things got heated, I just remember Nicole fell and hurt herself. And I grabbed the knife from Charlie. I do remember that portion, taking the knife from Charlie, and the rest I just don't remember. Now watch. That's important. So he's saying he takes a knife from Charlie because he wants you to think there's one knife to protect Charlie. Get it? I took the knife, pushed Charlie out of the way. And in the book, it says too, OJ, let's get out of here, get out of here. And Charlie got in front of me and I pushed Charlie out of the way. See, there's an interview and there's a book. There's two ways he tells the story. Ehrlich is in the crime scene right there twice, verbally and in the book. I pushed him out of the way, grabbed that knife. Oh, you think you could kick my ass? Oh, I don't remember. Well, now let's pretend he does remember.
Mm-hmm. So he rushed.
Two guys.
So what really happened? Because there's two knife wounds, right? There's two different knife wounds.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there were obviously two knives. OJ had the Swiss Army knife. What did Charlie
Ehrlich has
have?
a dagger, a double-edged blade.
Wow.
That's why there's two different knife wounds. That's why Goldman tells you there's two morphologically different types of stab wounds on the victims.
Right.
And he's kicked off the case after one day because Marcia Clark was mad that he said there's two knives.
Wow, that's huge.
Of course.
Repeat what you just said.
Dr. Irwin Golden said there were two morphologically different types of stab wounds on the victims. He was kicked off the case after one day.
And that's an easy thing to prove. Like, look, hey, there's two different knife wounds. There's obviously somebody else involved.
There's bloody shoe prints there, and there's a hat in the Bronco, and there's fingerprints, and there's blood.
Wow. And Marcia Clark.
And when the other coroner gets on Lakshmanan and Shapiro has to ask him in all medical certainty, do you risk your reputation that one knife caused all these wounds on both these victims? No, I cannot say that. Right. Bagged. They could never say it. They knew they couldn't say it because the Golden did the thing and said there's two knives. Oh. So if they go, no, there's one. Now they're like, their coroners are like, well, which one is it?
It's so crazy. And this is why I have a hard time believing it wasn't premeditated because they both have knives on them.
Well, Charlie's not premeditated because he doesn't know Charlie's showing up.
Yeah. Well, or he does, but anyways.
So the
So they kill Goldman right there. They both assault Goldman and start stabbing him. How many times is Goldman
At least
stabbed?
27.
Wow. In the body?
And I'll tell you, face, head, neck, front, back, skull. Yes.
Oh my God.
And I have the photos.
It's madness.
The stuff on his face will make you cry.
Yeah, it's horrible. He's like a 25-year-old kid.
She was 35. He was 25. So here's my point. The way he's laying in the courtyard, you can't see the wounds. So he's kind of like, his eye and he's bloody. When you remove, I have pictures of him on the slab. Same with Nicole. When you remove the clothing and the stuff, you're like, wow. Back of the neck, each side, head. These people are getting stabbed in the head.
Yeah. Crazy.
His neck has a hole like 3 inches and it's on this side of his neck.
And it must have happened so fast.
He has 3 fatal wounds. It's like chest, flank, his abdominal aorta is struck. That's fatal. The chest wound is fatal. This is fatal.
So they slit his throat.
Yeah.
Okay. So he goes down. He's pretty much.
I believe he was struck. The way it's like a circle like this, the wound is a circle. I believe he was struck and he exploded his neck.
Okay. So he doesn't try to crawl away. He just basically falls.
He fought for his life. He has all the bruising on his knuckles. He's punching. And why doesn't OJ have any wounds to his face at all? Because Ehrlich's getting hit, not OJ.
Okay. So, oh my God, that's huge.
His hands have all bruising and all abrasions all over both his knuckles.
Oh, so he got in some blows to a face.
That's why Charlie's bleeding.
Wow. Okay. All
OJ has is a cut on his left middle finger.
Right.
There's nothing on his face, not on his body.
So then they turn to Nicole. Is Nicole?
OJ does, not Charlie. Charlie's trying to get out of there.
How do you know that?
Well, I'm not going to tell you. I can't tell you how I know that.
Why not?
Just not right now. So just let me say this. Okay. So Charlie's trying to leave.
Hold on. Can I ask you, can you at least say.
Trying to give Charlie an out.
Okay. So this is something from, you can't say how you know it.
It's from Ehrlich.
Okay. It's from Ehrlich. That's all right. That's fair enough. Okay.
So Charlie's trying to get out of there. This is all, they're crazy. Like this is so bad, bad.
But now you have a witness.
Well, I know, but what I'm saying is, as Charlie's trying to get out of there, OJ is now going to go over to Nicole and finish her off.
Okay. And then
there's 4 wounds to this. I believe it's this side of her neck. And then she has 1 massive wound here. There's a couple on her skull. She probably was struck. She might've been fighting. She might've got up. She has the scratch. There's something under her nails.
Right. Cause they find the blood.
Tissue in the blood. Did she whack Ehrlich? Does she scratch him and then they just bang her back? This is a brutal fight.
If she has Ehrlich's DNA under her fingernails, it doesn't sound like Ehrlich was trying to run away.
Well, I'm saying if he's murdering Ron Goldman with OJ right there and she comes up from behind and she grabs onto him, right?
But I thought she was knocked out.
I don't know exactly if she gets up or not. You know what I mean? She's not like knocked out the whole time. Like, what's going on? Like,
right. Okay.
We have to, when I do I've done over 25 murder investigations. When you're not going to know every little detail. So you have to just kind of like say something. It's like mind reading. I say what number you're thinking, but I don't know if that's the number. I'm trying to guess as close as I can, and you'll cough up really what you're thinking. Right. So as he's trying to go away, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. No, Nicole, he is so angry, dude, and he almost cuts her head off. Oh my God. That's why the blood's all over her back. When he does that, she's on the stairs. Okay. Yeah. She's down. Yeah. When you look at the blood, it's on the stairs. It goes like this, like a wall. She's on the stairs. He's got her propped up on the stairs when he hits her. So when he hits her, that blood goes. Yeah. Now, when he stands over, there's all these big, huge blood drops on her back that the LAPD never tested. Okay. Why? I know that for a fact. They didn't test all the blood. They don't test every single piece of blood. They just don't.
Okay. So can they prove that she was conscious and fighting when she was getting stabbed?
Yeah, the wounds in her neck are not fatal. Only this one's fatal.
Okay, so
he's go first.
So she was up. He's
hitting her
awake.
When she's on the ground. He's probably hitting her from the back. Like if she's down, it's either I either hit you straight on like this, or if you're down on the ground, I start hitting you here. Then he pulls her hair back and
and slits her throat.
Yes,
and almost decapitates her. Okay,
nicks her spine. That's why Sarah Wecht and the other guy, I forgot his name, talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
I have photos of that too.
And consequently, both he and Ehrlich are drenched in blood.
Absolutely.
Do you buy that?
Yes.
Like if you stab two people to death like that?
They're both covered in blood.
Okay.
OJ's arm is covered in blood. So you got to think of it's going to be his gloves. Now remember, his glove's off because that's how he gets cut. There's no hole in the glove.
How did his glove come off?
They think Goldman ripped it off in the fight.
Right.
And they either Ehrlich hits him with the knife or OJ, if he's grabbing Goldman like this and he's coming like he either hits his own hand or Ehrlich's hits him like as they're both, because Ron has like marks on his shoe, like he's kicking. He's being stabbed while he's down. So he's kicking like this and he gets stabbed in the leg too. He has got dude, it's everywhere. Right. It's all over.
Right. But it was a big struggle. So it was kind of like a melee, even though, they were massacred ultimately, but there was a big
Goldman's fighting for his life. And the way the Goldmans like to tell the story is he stuck up for Nicole. He tried. Yes, he did. Yes, he was a hero. He shouldn't have been there. It was a fateful night. It's sad. If Judita never dropped her glasses, I have to tell these people all this time, Goldman was a drug dealer and he was there and this was all set up and Ippolito knew him and blew up the kid's car at Mezzaluna. Dude, if her glasses didn't drop in the sidewalk, he's not there.
Yeah.
He's not there.
Yeah. Okay. So they run off. They
strip down their clothes before they go out the back gate. That's why the shoes stop.
Right. Okay. The shoe prints stop. There's no bloody shoe prints in the alley.
Correct.
Okay. Fascinating.
Both of them strip their shoes.
So they basically strip almost naked.
OJ is in boxer shorts and socks.
And he jumps in.
I don't know what Ehrlich is. He doesn't talk too much about that.
And he gave Ehrlich all of the bloody clothes.
He's holding it in the passenger seat.
Okay. And so OJ's driving basically in his boxers and socks.
That's why there's no blood on the gas pedal and brake.
Is that mainstream? Everybody acknowledges that.
They try to, and what I love is they tried to use that for the Jason Simpson by trying to say
theory.
There's no blood on the gas pedal and brake. I go, because OJ's not wearing shoes.
Right. Okay.
And if Jason Simpson did it, then Jason took his shoes off.
They only have a 5-minute drive back to OJ's house.
And they go lights off like idiots, like lights off, ripping down freaking the streets.
Wow. So they take Bundy back, or do they take? They actually,
I might be wrong on this, and people love when I'm wrong. I thought they do a U-turn, but I've had to change this because I looked at the map correctly. I think they take the wrong turn. So when Robert Heidstra goes, he's French. I saw the vehicle. It went this way. And they're like, no, she lives this way. So he's like, no, he stuck to his story. They went that way. He's heading towards Wilshire. He just tucks through these back streets and he can weave back to Bundy. Then when he rips through, he blows that light and Jill Shively almost crashes into him. That's that very famous woman who says, I thought it was Marcus Allen. But then I realized it was OJ Simpson.
Wow.
He crashes through, lights off, and almost destroys her.
Wow. She could tell that witness. She could tell that was OJ.
He's looking behind, like, because
Wow.
I talked to Jill a couple times.
Okay.
I asked, did you see a guy in the passenger seat? The reason she can't is because she's behind. He like passes her.
Mm-hmm.
The guy blocks him. It's a kid from UCLA. They never could find this guy, never came forward. They don't know who it was, some Nissan. And he's yelling. He's not yelling at Jill Shively. He's yelling at the kid in front of him. And she's looking like, oh my God, this guy, who is, I thought it was Marcus. She memorizes the license plate and reports it as a DUI. She's off by one number.
Wow.
Right. So she calls, well, I think it's OJ. But she calls it in before they know there's a murder. And they've tried to say she made it up and she didn't even know there was a murder.
Okay, so there's plenty of witnesses of him fleeing the scene.
Just her.
Okay, I thought the French guy.
Yeah, seeing the Bronco, but he doesn't know who's in there.
Right,
like
that makes sense. Can you imagine if it just 10 years, this happened just 10 years later, he'd be on every camera.
Oh yeah,
you know,
every ring cam.
Dude, he had the gift of just historical
There's
timing.
no cell phones really. There's no cameras. There's no smartphones.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. I mean, the guy walked into a convenience store, bought a lottery ticket on his last buck and hit the mega jackpot.
I say he was sprinkled with fairy dust because so was Charlie. Think about it. If I didn't come to you, did you know OJ had a murder accomplice? Because the media won't tell you because they won't let you know. So you're sitting back. That's why I like to talk to people that don't know too much about it because you're the best audience. All the other people are, oh, no. Like all the OJ lovers and trolls are like, oh, OJ didn't do it at all. He did it by himself. Oh, who's this Chris Todd guy? Like,
so let's finish this out. So they get back to OJ's house. The limo driver's still there.
He's parked there at Ashford's gate.
Because he's got to get OJ to the airport. Now, Kato Kalin wakes up.
He's at home.
Kato Kalin why is he living with OJ?
He lives with OJ because OJ let him because OJ wanted to get him away from Nicole. He was living with Nicole.
And who is this guy?
Look,
we've all heard of Kato Kalin, but who was he actually?
He befriended Nicole first. He says he didn't sleep with her, but I think he did. And I might be able to prove it. Nicole liked him, thought he was very funny.
Nicole's a cokehead whore. I'm sorry, dude. There's God bless the dead, but this bitch was toxic, dude. For any black athletes out there, learn your lesson. Stay away, dude. This bitch was toxic.
Well, she made Kato famous and a millionaire, so we could look at it that way too. Anyway, Kato met her in Aspen. He met Faye Resnick and her together. He was with Grant Kramer. It's a confusing story. They meet at a party or at the Ritz pre-party. Then they go to a party. Anyway, she liked him, thought he was funny. He watched the kids. He lived in LA. They met in Aspen, but they both live in LA. They became friends. They named the dog Kato. Right. The kids loved him. And OJ thought he was harmless. Right. He was very charismatic. Because
he was kind of a nice guy.
He was a funny guy.
Yeah, he really was a harmless guy, right?
Good looking.
He was like a hapless guy. Yeah. He was like, what? He
was an actor.
What have I fallen into?
He was funny. He had the long hair. He's good looking.
Right.
He wanted to be a comedian and an actor. He still was a comedian, I think, to this day.
So he was essentially a family friend.
He met Nicole.
Yeah.
He was Nicole's friend who stayed with Nicole for the years after the divorce.
Right. Okay. And then OJ liked him. I mean, thank God
OJ liked him. OJ let him live in his house.
Right. Yeah.
So
I was going to say,
trusted him.
If you bang Nicole, you got to be careful. But
he wanted him to get away, and Nicole hated Kato after this because Nicole thought he betrayed her. She was like, why are you staying at OJ's? Like they had a love-hate relationship, OJ and Nicole. So it was always like crazy, man, they had crazy.
Okay, so he's living in the pool house. He's in like the back house.
Yeah, he's in like the guest house.
Okay.
Or whatever, yeah.
So how does he come into play? Go ahead. Take us through what happens
the more important part is that OJ tells you in the book and in the interview, I know the limo's there. We can't pull up to the house. So he drives to Bristol Street, which is the street over. So Allen Park won't see them. Allen's the limo driver. So they park on Bristol and OJ jumps out of the car and tells her, look, you better get rid of all this forever. Say it to me. Oh, Jesus Christ, OJ, what are we doing? What are we doing? Jesus, say it to me. This stuff needs to disappear forever. He jumps out, jumps the neighbor's gate, 4-foot gate to the driveway, runs behind the house, bangs on the wall for Kato to come out. That is a signal to Kato Kalin. And yes, I'll say it. And I challenge you to come talk to me, Kato. And he bangs on the wall. Come help me. And Kato comes out with the flashlight. Oh, I went out with and he goes on the trial and goes, oh, I went out with the flashlight and I had this, and I heard an earthquake. You didn't hear an earthquake, dude. You heard, it was a signal. And he goes back and tells him, oh, I didn't see anything. And then I just came back and, oh, there's the limo. And the limo driver says, well, he saw me first and he wouldn't let me in. So I'm wondering like, what's going on? Hey, buzz me in. And so when he looks back, he sees a white man with blonde hair start to walk back towards him. And he sees a black man come right behind him and walk into the house.
This is what the limo
simultaneously.
This is what the limo driver testified
20 times.
That he saw Kato with OJ in his boxers still.
He thinks it's all black clothing.
Right.
He doesn't know he's stripped.
Right.
That's why he goes, I saw a 6-foot black man in all black clothing.
Now, what does Kato tell? So Kato lied. What is his story? What did he tell?
Kato says he never saw OJ behind the house. He just says he looked with the flashlight, and Marcia Clark asked him, why didn't you walk all the way back? Because that's not where the bang came from. Well, I was scared. No, it's not that you're scared. OJ's standing right in front of you. Like, go get the limo. Go up to the gate and wait till I go in the house.
I see. And tell him, wait till I get changed. Wait till I'm ready to go.
I buzz him. I overslept.
Why would he need Kato's help?
Because he has no one to help him. Because if OJ comes around, the limo driver's going to see him.
Okay. So
he can't get in the house. The doors are all locked.
So Kato was just used to fend off the limo driver.
Just distract him. Like, yeah.
And he claims that he never saw OJ outside of the house. Right. Okay. Gotcha.
So then he stands at the gate and doesn't let him in still. And so then Alan Park's like, are you going to let me in? And then the buzzer, hello? Oh, hey, it's me, OJ. I overslept. That's that famous line.
I see. Okay. So so you have two conflicting stories here between Alan Park, the limo driver, and Kato. Was Kato ever charged with perjury, or was there any?
They threatened him with perjury in the grand jury. They said, if you don't talk, you're going to jail. At first he said, I plead the fifth. And they go, you're going to jail. He had to walk in the hallway, start talking to his lawyer, whoever's with him. And then he came back and, okay, I'll talk. He was a hostile witness.
But he didn't talk, but he still stuck to his story.
They said he was paid by the defense to not talk. I have a source that said he was paid off by the defense.
Okay. All right. But really, nothing else came of it, right? Like that was his involvement in history. This was it.
He became famous. They didn't publish his book. He had offers to do the book. He becomes the guest house, the most famous couch surfer in America. Yeah. He rides that fame, still rides it to this day, still blabbing his mouth, still yapping.
But does he acknowledge that OJ did it? Does he have an opinion?
Now he tries to softly say, yeah, I think OJ did it. He betrayed Nicole. Yeah. He helped OJ get off.
Do you think he would have gotten off anyways?
Maybe. I'm not blaming Kato.
Because this isn't a huge
Mark Furman got OJ off.
Right. Of course. A lot of stuff. So many things got OJ off.
The LA riots.
I'm not sure how big of a piece of this puzzle, him coming back to the house was,
Right.
I mean, perhaps if the limo driver had seen him and they could, that was a damning piece of evidence, I think he probably would have gotten off anyways.
Maybe. Yeah, possibly. And the weird thing with Alan Park, because I've tried to contact him and he hung the phone up on me. So I do want to say to Alan Park too is, now, why doesn't Alan Park say it's OJ Simpson walking in the house? Why does he keep saying it's a 6-foot black man? Who else was in the house? No one. So who is that? See, he tried to give him an out too.
Right. Interesting.
6 foot, 200-pound black guy in all black clothing. It's his skin. He's not dressed.
Yeah. Okay. And then of course, I think this pretty much wraps it up. He gets dressed, gets his golf clubs, goes down. Alan Park's there.
Kato's there. What's going on? Did you hear an earthquake? He's saying that to Alan Park's like, no, I didn't feel an earthquake.
Okay.
Kato has to keep this story going.
Right.
Like he was on the phone when he heard the earthquake with a woman named Rachel Ferrara. She was actually had to testify. So he's got to say, did you hear an earthquake? Like he accidentally, if he didn't say that to her, he might have never had to say, I heard a noise behind the house.
Right. I see. Okay. So
OJ was lucky, man. Like like you're
obviously
saying, it's the lottery ticket.
Okay. So, and then he takes OJ to the airport and the rest unfolds. Wow. Incredible. So what happens to Charlie? What does he do with the clothes? And what becomes of him from June 12th, 1994 to the 2000s when he finally gives that confession.
He's gone. He flies back to Miami.
What does he do with the clothes?
Burns them. Gets rid of all the evidence.
Where do you
Gone.
burn clothes?
I don't know.
But that's a big deal, right?
Kind of, but I mean, it's not, I mean, if you want to say, well, did he throw it in a dumpster in a trash bag? Maybe. I was told he burned the clothes.
Okay. And then he flies back to where?
Miami.
And when does he next pop up on the radar?
He doesn't talk to OJ for 5 years. That's why the script and the confession talks about that. We don't talk for 5 years. Then OJ moves to Miami in 1999.
Right.
Remember OJ moved to Miami?
Yeah.
Because of the laws and whatever.
Yeah.
He links back up with Ehrlich and Ippolito.
Okay, so are they actually placed together? Is that fact?
Absolutely.
Now, what was he doing?
They start
after-
doing shady stuff. They start like OJ gets his door kicked in for ecstasy by the FBI. They tap his phone. I guarantee Charlie's involved in that. Joey is also dealing cocaine out of a car dealership. I have a witness who literally told me, I can't even say it. I have proof that Joey was doing that. Joey and OJ were still together and they were hanging out together. And I have proof of that.
Now, in this day and age, if there's OJ's blood and somebody else's blood, right? OJ was O negative. Super,
I think so. Yeah.
Super rare blood type.
Yeah.
Super rare blood type.
Sounds right.
But the other, it was a
B.
Type B.
Type B.
They were not able to link any kind of DNA evidence to Charlie.
Now, the way to play devil's advocate, you would say this: if you have 2 root hairs in item 27, right? You'd run those hairs for DNA. Okay. Is there DNA in 1994? Kind of.
Right.
Not
It's
really.
brand new.
There's no touch DNA.
Right.
There is DNA. They do. Barry Scheck and Newf, they all know about it. Blazier, and they kind of have it. There is some sort of DNA. So you do have blood. You could blood type, right? So if you knew who Ehrlich was, you could say, what's your blood type? You're a B. It still doesn't prove he did it.
Right. There was no way. How do you know who you're looking for?
Right. Now, in the database, when Ehrlich got pinched in the 70s, the 80s for guns, weapons, coke with Nancy Grace in 85, are his fingerprints in the database? Probably. So did they run the fingerprints through the system and did it kick out that it was him? And they said, no, no, no.
Who what do you mean?
LAPD. Or look, I don't know. I don't have the access to the evidence like that. So what I'm saying is either LAPD ran the fingerprints and it kicks back that it's Ehrlich, or it doesn't kick back to anybody.
Okay. So maybe like,
what if he's not in the database because he gets busted in Georgia? He's in Atlanta when he gets busted. California, is there a database in 94? Probably, but I don't know.
There may not have been though. If he's got, when was he busted again?
85. And then he goes to jail in 87. He's busted in early 80s, late 70s.
Was he ever busted after these murders?
Yes, in the Vegas robbery when he's with OJ again, the dynamic duo. Oh my
God, so that he was part of the Vegas robberies.
The dynamic duo.
And why does that never come up in the documentary?
Which documentary?
I mean, the documentary, I think it's the OJ documentary. It is. It's the one I think on ESPN. And it starts.
They don't say, well, they know Ehrlich's with them. They know there's like 5 guys with them. They do talk about the Vegas robbery. That's in
But they never
07.
connect the players in it.
Look, there were 2 Charlies at the Vegas robbery. Charles Cashmore and Charles Ehrlich. There's 2 Charlies. Now watch. If somebody had just read OJ's book, put a couple things together. Oh, remember? Oh, wait, there's 2 Charlies with OJ in Vegas robbery. Oh, that's kind of, that guy's a mafia. Oh, that's kind of weird. OJ said there was a Charlie with him. Oh God, is that the same Charlie from the book?
Right. But they never put it together.
No one
for
ever
whatever
figured
reason.
it out.
So this guy, again, lucky.
Yep.
Luckier than OJ.
Dude, this guy is like, I'm telling you, he's called me on the phone crying before. He's called me on the phone. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? What are you doing? And he starts like,
so when did
breaking
he
down?
So when did he? So not only
he didn't know who I was at first at all. He's like, how do you? He goes, you sure know a lot about me.
But hang on. So before we get to that, they never found either they never had a fingerprint match.
Correct.
From the times that he went in,
or they ignore it,
or they just completely ignored it, which I mean is so scandalous. If that's the truth.
That's what the LAPD did. They planted the glove behind the house. Furman planted the glove. There was EDTA in the blood on the socks and the back gate.
Why would Furman plant the glove? Why did he do that? They wanted one murder.
I love you.
They wanted one murderer there.
What do you want me to sleep over tonight? I mean,
Yeah.
I just can't go into it all, man.
Wow.
There's EDTA in the
Wow.
blood. EDTA is a preservative. It's an anticoagulant, so the blood doesn't coagulate. It's found on the socks. It means it came from a test tube. It's found on the back gate 2 weeks later. Why are you collecting evidence from the back gate 2 weeks when everybody and their mother went to visit the crime scene? That's why Barry Scheck goes, what do we have here, Mr. Fong? What about that? Look at the photo. They show them. There's no blood on June 12th. Why is there blood here 2 weeks later? Bagged.
It's inexplicable.
So that's
man.
what I'm saying. They were
Yeah.
planting evidence.
Yeah, it's
Van
really.
Natter couldn't say where he put OJ's blood.
Yeah.
Johnny Cochran said, cover up. Andrew Mazzola was taking a nap on the couch. And that's when Van Natter went into a trash bag and put OJ's blood sample in there. And she had her eyes, what? Like, they're just like, what are you guys doing?
You know, I gotta say, OJ deserved this not guilty verdict.
Yes.
They
almost
fumbled
did.
it
Yes.
so bad.
Dude.
He absolutely deserved this not guilty
They
verdict.
hated the LAPD. The riots just happened. They found out the Furman said he planted evidence on other black people for years.
Yeah.
Talked about beating people to a pulp, the
Yeah.
blood on the ceiling.
Mhm.
Done.
I mean, he's hopefully burning in hell, but from
Mr.
a legal standpoint, it's like, what are you supposed to do with all that?
One of the most
I want to find this guy guilty, but you guys are making it so hard.
Right. And you have to think for Marcia Clark and Darden and Hodgman and Kellberg and the other gal, I forgot her name. You almost feel bad for them because you're you made a good point.
Yeah.
You're kind of like across the way from you is the dream team, the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
Scheck, Neufeld, Shapiro, Cochran. They're going to destroy you if you don't have your stuff real tight.
Yeah.
Real
And
tight.
it was not. So
They had Barry Scheck do the closing argument. I met Barry. I talked to him for a little bit. After they saw Barry Scheck, they had him do the closing, not Bob Shapiro. It was Johnny Cochran and Barry Scheck. That's how brilliant that guy was. They saw him in the trial and they're like, Shapiro goes, have him do it. These guys were the best attorneys.
Sharp. Yeah, brilliant. So brilliance mixed with the opposite on the prosecution side.
You
Just
get it.
bumbling, corrupt, lying scumbags. And
Ito's trying to
So,
I don't hate Ito. Some people rag on Ito.
So God knows why they weren't able to find a fingerprint match for Charlie. He just got off.
Did they run the hair?
Yeah. No physical evidence tying him to the scene. But what's wild is that he kept running with OJ. These guys were they friends?
After 5 years. Remember, they're dark for 5 years.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So they became really friends because we're talking decades now.
Tied. That's why the screenplay says, he goes, I don't want to say too much about the night of the murders. And OJ wrote a book about that. And I can't add too much to that. But let's just say that night tied the two of us together for the rest of our lives.
Right, of course. Because now you have this huge secret between you two.
And guess guess when Ehrlich in Vegas, when they go to Tom Scotto's wedding, that was a wedding that weekend. OJ said, you're going to go do something for me. I need you to get my memorabilia back. He goes, OJ, I don't want to do it. He goes, well, I'd hate to see things break down for you, seeing as there's no statute of limitations on double murder. That's in the confession.
Wow.
He hated OJ.
I got this thing over your head.
You're my
They can't recharge me, but they can charge you.
And he made Ehrlich go.
Wow. So, and Ehrlich did time for that robbery as well?
No, they all flip on OJ. They all get probation. OJ gets 9 years.
Oh, interesting. So they flipped on OJ, even though he had this thing
and when
hanging
the
over his
lawyer,
head?
they had to flip them. They're all going to go to jail for kidnapping. So Ehrlich, they all flip on OJ.
Why wouldn't OJ tell on Ehrlich to get out of that?
He can't, that has nothing to do with the Vegas. He can't get anything to do with that. That can't erase his Vegas. He could tell Ehrlich, like, you better stick up for me or I'm going to squeal on you. But at that point,
they were so happy to have him. He was going down.
Yeah. There's there's 5 other guys with them.
Yeah. But they want OJ.
Oh,
they
they
doesn't matter what he
him
says.
on the date October 3rd.
Yeah.
And the judge says this isn't about the murders. They literally sentenced him on the exact day of his acquittal.
Yeah. I know the girl. I do comedy. I started comedy with the girl whose mom sentenced him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Glass?
Yeah. No, Wolfson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a couple of judges, but I think Glass was the, oh God.
So anyways,
so
when did Charlie, how Charlie got off? He didn't do time for that.
Correct.
When does he and how does he confess?
In 2017, he comes forward through his, I won't say the guy's name, through somebody, goes to the producer,
So he comes to like a production company in
No,
LA.
he knew this producer in Vegas. I know the guy. I was softly partnering with him, but now he hates me and tries to sue me and threatens me every freaking time he can. He came to the guy and he goes, I want to tell you a story. And the producer's like, okay, go ahead. And then when he heard it, he's just like, okay, I have to tape you.
Mhm.
You're going to be taped. And then we're going to go get $10 million.
From who?
Hollywood.
Right. And did he sell that story to Hollywood?
I brought a $20 million deal from Sony Pictures to them. I was their partner.
Wow. Oh, that's how you met Charlie.
I was a producer.
Wow. Did you get him that money? Did you guys get that money?
Well, here's the best part about Hollywood, and I love you, Hollywood. They barred me from the lot, wouldn't let me go to the meeting. I said it with the vice president of Sony, one of the vice presidents, and they went to the meeting without me. And played the tape and showed him the screenplay. And that guy's still partnered with the guy today. And I introduced both of you guys together. And you're still friends together because of me. You're welcome.
Did they get the deal?
No. The deal fell through because Hollywood, they're like bullies and they wanted to, back end and we'll give you 1 million. They're like 10 million. They asked for crazy numbers.
Yeah,
they wanted back end, ownership,
yeah.
Crazy numbers.
And also it's possible that would never have seen the light of day.
He's
anyways.
a felon. Like you're going to pay a felon that wait, what are we paying this guy for? But it's like Goodfellas. Henry Hill comes forward, Jimmy Burke.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. The Irishman.
Mhm.
It's like, look, the guy's trying to tell you a story. He's not going to say he murdered anyone.
Yeah.
On page 50 of the script, you're riding a white Bronco.
Yeah.
It's an awesome story, man. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah. It's an awesome story. But if he's not going to out and say he did it,
he's trying to say OJ did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
And for
feel
political reasons too.
Yeah.
I'm actually not shocked that they didn't get the money.
But here's the important part that you need to know. This is why I flipped on you guys. Because you tried to snake me. And that's why I'm talking. I wouldn't have talked. See, if they just played me cool, like I told Ehrlich, if you tell me the truth, I'll leave it alone. But he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. And neither could the producer. They couldn't do it. They asked for this. And now they got it.
And now Ehrlich's suing you?
He's suing people based on a source and partly myself.
I see.
And a reporter named Bob Norman.
Okay. And he's not worried that being a public figure or coming out from hiding is going to reopen anything.
Well, he just got interviewed on CNN talking about he's OJ's best friend and spent Christmases with Justin and Sydney. That's disgusting. And he was
disgusting.
Another woman who I told about the story too, and she gave me a bunch of attitude, and then CNN wouldn't let me tell Caitlin Williams either.
If you have all of this evidence, have you brought it to the LAPD?
I brought it, yeah. Yes.
Okay. And how have they received
multiple
it?
times.
They've received it.
Oh yeah.
And how is that gone? They haven't gotten back to you.
They don't care. No, I've met with them multiple times.
Okay.
And I'm not even supposed to say that.
But they haven't, but my point is they see the evidence and then they don't follow up.
They haven't investigated one thing. They can't run the evidence. The DA has to approve it. There's a court order.
Okay. So it's really the DA that's holding up.
And the DA laughed at me on the phone and then hung up on me twice.
And why do you think that is?
Well, why does the media have a complete blackout of why won't the media let me talk? It's the same reason, man. They don't want the truth to come out. They want to keep this false narrative. They want to keep making money off of this OJ story. And they're mad at me. They're still butthurt because I started to whistleblow on these Hollywood people years ago for their discrimination and sex abuse. So they're still mad at me. They're still hanging it over my head. Ask around. They all know my name.
What's the strongest piece of evidence you have that implicates Charlie?
His confession on tape.
So you have that?
No comment. I'll tell you this. The producer has the whole tape.
Wow.
I won't confirm or deny if I have samples of it.
Wow. And that would do it? Like he up and walks, in that confession.
He tells you he's there with OJ Simpson at the murder scene.
And he all but implicates himself.
He doesn't say he's stabbing anyone.
Right. But he pushes it onto OJ. Right.
And tells you the mafia and the coke. And
Right. And of course, in OJ's book, he pushes it. He tries to shift all the blame to Charlie.
Kind of. He's playing you both ways. Yeah. The best evidence is, and even the LAPD was smart too. I learned a lot from them when I sat with them because they even said, look, okay, let's say Ehrlich's a 10.5. Let's say his shoe is how do we know it's his shoe?
Right.
Good point. I said, you're right. How do we know it's his hat? Is his name written in the hat? Even if it was, how do we know somebody didn't write Charlie Ehrlich in the hat? I'm like, okay, well, why don't you run the 2 hairs and the blood evidence and the fingerprints?
Yeah.
Then let's talk.
Yeah.
And the type B. Then let's talk.
Yeah. Get a grand jury to at least get a warrant to arrest him, take his DNA samples and run those against the DNA you have in storage.
The most simple thing they would do is go get the tape first. Go get the tape that's actually in discovery file. It's in the discovery in the lawsuit in Miami, because there was a motion to compel that made the producer, after a year, he had to give the thumb drive or he went to jail. He hid it. He wouldn't play the tape for anybody. So they deposed him twice. He just got pinched and then he tried to take me to court. I just went to court and I won.
Wow.
I have the tape of it. I filmed outside the courthouse.
Do you think there's a possibility that this could be reopened? You know, we saw the Biggie Smalls case get reopened after almost 30 years.
That ain't OJ.
No, that's true. So you're not seeing hope for it.
I don't care, to be honest. And people think I'm crass for saying that. I've lived this story. I risked my ass for this story. The media has violated my rights, my First Amendment rights, repeatedly. They violated my civil rights to investigate a murder, to tell the public. Luckily, people like you are courageous. That's where I've had to run this circuit. Okay. That's how you met me, through other podcasters, right? They didn't want to talk to me either. I had to beat them over the head too. They didn't want to write that article. So
what are you working on now?
Kurt Cobain.
Okay. We're going to switch over to the Patreon. We're going to talk about all of Kurt and we're going to talk JonBenet Ramsey and a lot of these other things.
Natalie Wood had Aaron Hernandez.
Absolutely. Where can people find you? investigatorla19@gmail.com, investigatorla19@gmail.com. And I also, my phone number's online. If you just Google Chris Todd. Chris Todd's my stage name. People record me and SWAT call my house. I have stalkers. Yeah. So Chris Todd, I'm on the internet. Do you have a podcast or do you have anything?
No
Can they buy your books? Do you have a website?
Yeah, I wrote Ron's Revenge. You can go to Amazon and find Ron's Revenge. I list my email inside my book.
Right.
But anyone, if you go to any of my other podcasters, they all will shuttle me your email to me.
Got it.
My phone number's online.
And if anybody has tips for anything, they can find you.
Absolutely. Come
at
forward.
Those emails.
Come forward, investigatorla19@gmail. I also have an email, hopscotchfree101@gmail. The number's 101, hopscotchfree 101.
We'll put all the links in the description.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, really, really appreciate it. Wow. What a thing to live through. What an incredible piece of American history.
And now that OJ's died, I do believe maybe the portal has opened up, because I do have a spiritual side to me. People that know me about this, I'll just end on this, is I'm not a technical guy. I go by feel. I go by my gut. I use God or the devil. Whatever I need to use, I use it to help the voiceless. Okay. So I'm helping them. OJ's gone. I do believe OJ is watching what I'm doing.
Chris Todd, thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, brother.
It.
We'll see you over at Patreon, patreon.com/TheConnect Show. Take care. Peace out.